Omar Moreno, who comes in here with a string of 17 straight stolen bases. He stole 77 to lead the National League, and he takes a half-swing check foul off to the left in the count 0-1. Flanagan keeping at least the first pitch in on the knuckles. How do you pitch to Moreno?
Well, Moreno, you try to keep the ball in on him, keep it tight, don't let him extend himself. He wants to play with the ball out away from him, Benny.
Doug DeCinces, the third baseman, a step in on the grass, and of course that can be treacherous. We'll wait and see. The pitch to Moreno, breaking ball low and outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. In your mind's eye, you can picture the birds. Mike Flanagan on the hill and Rick Dempsey behind the plate. Eddie Murray and Billy Smith, Mark Belanger and Doug DeCinces in the infield. John Lowenstein, Al Bumbry, and Ken Singleton in the outfield. Flanagan looks down the barrel to pick off a sign, and the left-hander's 1-1 fastball inside under the hand. Ball 2, 2-1. So immediately the book has been published. Keep the ball on top of the left-hand hitting Moreno.
Now, one thing about both of these clubs, there's no question. They've got them down as well as if they've seen them all year. The scouts have watched them all year.
Flanagan ready, and the 2-1 pitch on the way. High and inside. Ball 3, 3-1. Mike Flanagan comes in having won 8 straight from August into September, and at Memorial Stadium this year, 14-2 with an earned run average of 2.5. So this is his ballpark, and Pittsburgh is going to have to take it away from him. The 3-1 pitch to Omar Moreno is swung on, and it's a high chopper down to second to Billy Smith. He hurries to Murray just in time. Boy, Moreno got down the line fast enough on that one. The first out in the 76th playing of the World Series. And now Tim Foli, the shortstop, and perhaps the biggest single change for Pittsburgh this year was the acquisition of Foli in the Frank Chiveras deal. Not only did Foli hit .291, he made only 15 errors, and he just seemed to really bring the ballpark together for the Bucs. He takes inside ball 1. They are playing him the other way. The gap is in left center field.
I've never seen that big a gap, though, but now they're moving their left fielder over. That gap was just too big.
Flanagan into the windup, and the 1-0 pitch on the way, and Foley has a look at his strike, 1-1. We mentioned at the outset, he is the toughest hitter in the National League to strike out. 532 at-bats, and he went down on strikes only 14 times. He fouls it off, and Flanagan now has him 1-2. It's kind of tough to come into a World Series with such advanced publicity. Puts a little extra pressure on Foley.
It sure does, Vince, and the one thing you're going to notice about Flanagan, that he'll take off his curveball an awful lot.
1-2 pitch on the way. Off speed, and it's a fly ball into shallow left center. Johnny Lowenstein is right there to put it away. So we have 2 down in the first inning, and Big Dave Parker coming up. And, of course, if the Pirates are going to do anything, they're going to have to rely on the middle of the lineup, just like Pittsburgh figures that Baltimore will have to rely on Kenny Singleton and also Eddie Murray. When you're pitching to Parker, where would you like to pitch to him?
You have to stay right on him. It's tough because you're looking down at a man that you know if he hits the ball through the box, he's going to hurt you, Vince. But if you let this man extend, him and Stargell are so similar. If you allow him to get those hands out, they're just going to kill you.
As big as he is, and he struck out about 1/6 of the time, Parker still hit .310. He takes a fastball and pulls it inside first and down the line. And Parker going to first, making the turn. Kenny Singleton in the corner to come up with it. And Parker easily into second base, standing with a double.
He stumbled a little bit when he came around first. I wonder if that turf was a little loose or it was still damp there.
They had the infield covered. They finally covered the outfield earlier today, but you can see where they put some topsoil and sand to try and soak up the area. So it is a tricky track indeed. So the honor of the first base hit in this 1979 World Series goes to the right fielder Dave Parker as he doubles inside first. Now the key is whether Bill Robinson can pick him up, and Tony Barterome is going to come out. And you know the one thing we were worrying about, high-priced talent on a soggy field, Sparky, and we'll see if Parker is okay.
I think he got a little hamstring come around. He slipped real good when he came around first, and he tried to come around real gently then, but he slipped and it went out from under him.
And, of course, all of Pittsburgh holding its collective breath to make sure that he wouldn't lose a big right fielder on a hamstring on the first offensive play of the series. So Parker, who looks more like a tight end for the Steelers, rubbing the back of his right leg. And now Bill Robinson climbs in. Robbie hitting .262 for the year, but he has power, 24 home runs. Sparky, he's a fellow, when he first came up, I think they thought they might have had a superstar, but he never quite blossomed that well.
Yeah, he just didn't quite there, but I think he's an outstanding player. He's a clutch guy. And I've always found that he'll hurt you just the times you don't want to get hurt.
He takes a look at his strike in the count 0-1. Robinson with 75 runs batted in. Right-hand hitting left fielder. Flanagan out of the stretch. Another look at Parker. And the off-speed pitch fouled away, 0-2. Pretty good move by Flanagan.
This is the thing about Flanagan people don't realize. He can move his fastball around, gets it where he wants them, but he's got an excellent curveball. He takes off, and he's got a super change that McGregor taught him this year.
Well, Mike out of the stretch at the belt, and the strike 2 pitch is low and inside and over the top breaking ball, down and inside of the ankles, and the count 1-2. If Robinson should get a base hit, it would be quite a risk to see if Parker can even try to score from second.
That's the test, and like you said, they just couldn't afford to lose him. If they lost him, they'd be in deep trouble.
1-2, the count to Bill Robinson. 2 out in the first inning, no score. Parker away from second, and the off-speed pitch is fouled at the plate. Looked like Flanagan turned it over a little bit.
Well, that's that change he has, and McGregor taught him. He certainly didn't need it. He didn't help our league any. When they gave it to him, I told McGregor they ought to take him out and shoot him.
He wound up with 190 strikeouts. He was third behind Nolan Ryan and Ron Gidry. Flanagan ready in the 1-2 pitch. Fast one swung on and missed, going down. And here's a little big league pitching. Mike Flanagan strikes out Bill Robinson. The Pirates lead Parker at second base. And at the end of half an inning, the Pirates nothing. And Baltimore coming up.
Collect.
Bottom of the first inning at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. Vin Scully along with Sparky Anderson. The Pirates failed to score despite a 2-out double by Dave Parker. Let's get Pittsburgh defensively. An infield of Willie Stargell and Phil Garner. Tim Foli, the shortstop, and Bill Madlock at third. Bill Robinson in left. Omar Moreno in center, and Dave Parker in right. Steve Nicosia behind the plate, and Bruce Kison on the hill. Kison, winner of his last 5, 7 of his last 8, 10 of his last 14 decisions, and has a remarkable record in his career in the month of September. He is 23-6 this month. Moving into October, he's 4-0 in postseason play, so evidently he likes the pressure and the cool weather. He'll be going up against Al Bumbry, followed by Mark Belanger, and then Kenny Singleton. What do you remember about Bruce Kison, Sparky?
Well, Bruce used to throw a lot harder and a little more up. Now, a little more down. Now he's gotten up a little bit because he throws his breaking ball much better now than he used to, Benny. And he doesn't throw quite as hard, but he has much better control now.
He has been plagued by blisteritis on his right index finger, and of course that could be a factor in this one. The coaches for Baltimore, Jim Fry at first, Cal Ripken around at third, and of course Earl Weaver piloting the ball club in the dugout. Sparky, is it always this noisy here at Baltimore?
Yeah, it started this year, Benny. They really started turning things around. Wild Bill got them going with the big Orioles cheer, and I'll say one thing, they've had a great year over here with attendance.
They set an attendance record. In fact, at the very end of September, the Baltimore Ball Club came out of the dugout onto the field, and they applauded the fans, which was a great thing to hear about. Right now, it is Alonzo Al Benjamin Bumbry out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. The left-hand hitter had 7 home runs this year, 6 of them against right-handers, and oddly enough, 6 of his 7 home runs were hit on the road. So Bumbry, coming back from a broken left fibula and dislocated ankle of 78, promptly strokes one into left center for a base hit. Moreno lets Robinson pick it up, and Bumbry makes a turn and holds, and here come the Orioles. Bumbry, remember, is their leading base stealer with 37. What about Kison and a move to first, Sparky?
Well, he's not real quick going to first base, and he's not extremely fast going to the plate, but he'll hold him, and he'll make Bumbry hold over there, and that'll be the key to it.
Now we get to Mark Belanger, who has not done much with the bat, one of the great glove men, 8 gold gloves in his career, hitting only 167. Would they dare play hit and run? Would they put a play on with Belanger?
Well, they will, but I'm not too sure right here, Benny. They won't try to bunt him over and get a run for Flanagan right away.
Which is the Earl Weaver style.
That's his style, especially when he has Mike out there. Mike's had a great year, and get him a run early.
Kison out of the stretch, looks at Bumbry, comes to his hitter low, ball 1, 1-0. For the 4th time in 13 full years, Mark Belanger did not hit a home run. In fact, he's played 257 games since his last home run, which was a couple of years ago in Detroit, of all places.
Well, that place can be had.
Talking about the
up in the air.
It's 309 feet down the lines here, falling away to 378, 386, and 405 in straightaway center. Kison out of the stretch, string bean right-hander over the top, high, ball two. He doesn't sidearm the right-hand batters nearly as much as, let's say, a Ken Singleton.
No, he doesn't. He's gotten up a little more now, Vince. He used to be down a little more, and since he's got that better breaking ball, they got him up a little.
And remember, back in 1971, he hit 3 Orioles in the World Series to set a record. Here's the 2-0 pitch on the way, and that's inside, ball 3. So Bruce Kison, struggling here at the outset, gives up a base hit to Bumbry. And remember, Baltimore winning 102 games this year. Pittsburgh 198. And as far as Baltimore is concerned, after the 18th of May, they just refuse to be headed. 3-0. The count to Mark Belanger with Kenny Singleton on deck. And the pitch to the shortstop is way inside, ball 4. I would think for Bruce Kison, that would be a cardinal sin to walk a man hitting 167.
Well, Vince, you just can't do that because here's a case in the first inning. You're in Baltimore. You just can't let them make points in the first inning with Flanagan pitching.
Now you have the switch-hitting Kenny Singleton coming up. Singleton overall hitting .313. He would appear to be very strong as a left-handed batter.
Very strong, Vince, and he'll hit the ball to left center to right center. He doesn't pull extremely well. He will pull the off-speed pitch, but the fastball, he's going to beat that to left and right center.
2 on, nobody out in the first inning. The Pirates left Parker at second, and the Orioles have 2 on and nobody out. Kison deals in the dirt. Nicosia digging it out. Ball 1, 1-0. Singleton has 35 home runs this year, 111 runs batted in, and yet he is one of the more selective hitters in the league. With all of his power, he walked 109 times. The 1-0 pitch coming up, and the big left-hand hitter looks at a strike, and the count 1-1. What about pitching to him left-handed?
Well, you got to crowd him with the ball. He's very much like Parker and Stargell. If he extends the arms, he's got good power. If you keep it tight on him, the hard stuff, then you can jam him a lot.
Bumbry at second, Belanger at first. Nobody out in the first inning, no score. Madlock is up about even with the bag at third. The outfield is deep. Moreno is shaded slightly over towards right center, but as Sparky mentioned, they're not really playing him to pull the ball that way. Almost straight away. Ken Singleton with the Mets in Montreal, so they can remember him on his days in the National League, and he fouls the next pitch back. So Ken Singleton with a count of 1-2, and Eddie Murray on deck. And, of course, that's really an added advantage to have 2 power-hitting switch hitters back-to-back.
That's the thing that they have, Baltimore, and that's the reason that they were so successful this year. You never could block them all from your bullpen in the middle of that lineup.
So Kenny Singleton with 111 RBIs during the year, and he has a golden opportunity now to get Baltimore off and winging. The 1-2 pitch on the way is bounced in front of the plate. A good block by Nicosia, and that makes it 2-2. Bruce Kison, and no doubt in the weather conditions, the pitchers are allowed to go to their mouths tonight, huh?
Yeah, they'll be allowed to go to their mouths and get a chance to get a little moisture, too, because that's the thing that you're not going to perspire here, and it's going to hurt you with that ball being like glass.
Singleton, somewhat of an Iron Man. He played in every Oriole game, joining Eddie Murray as one of 8 American leaguers to play in all of them. So he's big and strong. And the 2-2 pitch on the way, a bouncer back to Kison, but he knocks it down, looks at second, throws to first. He might have had a double play ball, and he let it get away.
He had a 6 double play because Kenny Singleton didn't even get out of the box until the ball started rolling down the hill.
Eddie Murray is coming up with Lowenstein and DeCinces, and all through this series, you have to understand that we are not asking you to second-guess anybody. We are just trying to pick your brain, Sparky. So with first base open and a Murray hitting .295 with 25 home runs, 99 RBIs, is there any reason to pitch to him?
Well, I think with one thing about Eddie, Vince, you can strike him out. He's a free swinger, and he's a little wild with the bat swinging. But I'll say this, if he ever hits one, the stadium won't hold it. He can hit him as far as anybody.
And with first place open. They're going to go eyeball to eyeball with Eddie Murray. And Kison delivers a little low, ball one. The infield is back. What does that tell you?
Well, they're going to give him the one run if they hit the ball on the ground. They just don't want to open the gates and give him two right now. Charlie feels that his ball club's going to score some runs tonight.
1 ball and no strikes to Eddie Murray, holding that bat straight up back of the left ear. And Kison's next one, a sinker low, ball 2, 2-0. So he's pitching dangerously now to a hitter like Murray, who hit 295, including 25 home runs, 99 runs batted in. And he's up there right now with a base hit, perhaps to pick up 2. No score in the first inning with 1 away. And the 2-0 pitch on the way outside, I don't think they want any part of it.
No, they're doing just what you said, Vince, only they're doing it a little more scientifically.
They're going to take the bat away from him. They're not going to officially put him on. They're just going to give him 4 bad ones and see if he wants to go fishing, as you used to say as a kid. 3-0 the count to Eddie Murray. And here comes Kison, and it's swung on and missed. And oh, is that playing with dynamite? So Weaver giving Murray the green light, 3-0, and he came up empty. 3 balls, 1 strike. John Lowenstein on deck. 1 out in the first inning, no score. Bumbry down the line from third. Belanger from second, and it's outside to load him up. So the Baltimore Orioles, with the bases loaded, 1 out in the first inning. John Lowenstein, left-hand hitter, coming up. Lowenstein for the year hit .254, 11 home runs, 34 runs batted in. He can play all 3 outfield positions. How do you like him with the bat?
Well, he's got some power. He tries to pull a lot of balls sometimes, and he gets himself in a little trouble trying to overpull, but he's a pretty good hitter with pretty good power, likes the ball up a little bit.
He's coming off an ankle injury, which he suffered in August against Milwaukee, and he takes a breaking ball low, ball 1. He severely sprained his left ankle in Milwaukee, placed on the 15-day disabled list. But he has fought his way back, and here he is starting in left field in the World Series. The 1-0 pitch to John Lowenstein is a ground ball down to Garner. He goes to Foley and throws it into left field. 1 run is in, 2 runs in. Murray goes to third. Hesitating now between first and second is Lowenstein, and he's able to get back to the bag when the throw came into Foley. I think Garner had to re-grip and then threw the ball away.
What happened, Vince, is this cold weather, he just couldn't get a hold of the ball, and then when he got himself in between, I'm sure he probably got a hold of the ball with his whole hand, and he couldn't control it.
So you had 1 error of commission and 1 error of omission so far in the first inning. Kison had a double play ball off the bat of Kenny Singleton, and he didn't make it. And then Lowenstein had a double play ball to Garner, and he not only didn't make it, he threw it away. So an error charged to Garner, 1 run batted in, given to John Lowenstein, and it is 2-0 Baltimore in the first inning, and they have runners at first and third with Doug DeCinces coming up. DeCinces, who hurt his back in April, and you wonder about his well-being on a cold night like tonight.
That's the thing, Vince. He hurt it in Oakland on April the 27th, taking infield practice, and really it's been an all-year of a bad back for Doug.
Again, we repeat, it was 41 degrees at the start of the game, and looking at the flag in center field, there is no wind to really talk about, but we can say that they're loosening somebody up, a left-hander getting up in the Pirate bullpen. And the first pitch to Doug DeCinces, instead, Kison is off the rubber. How about pitching to this very talented third baseman, Sparky?
Well, he likes the ball now inside because of the back. He just can't go out and get the ball, and he loves the ball inside, likes it up a little bit.
He has power, sore back or nose, 16 home runs, 61 RBIs, and he takes in the dirt. Kison has been in the dirt quite a bit now in the first inning. He's anything but sharp.
I would say, Vince, he's just not getting that good grip on the ball.
Down in the Pirate bullpen, left-handed Jim Rooker is loosening up. 1 ball and no strikes to count to Doug DeCinces. The Pirates with 2 bad defensive plays, and the Birds lead 2-0. And the pitch is high, ball 2, and so Willie Stargell asking for time going to the mound.
Another thing I noticed, Vince, he's not throwing hard at all right now. He just can't get himself loose.
In case you joined us a little late, Al Bumbry opened up for Baltimore with a single to left. Mark Belanger bunted, never did see a strike. Singleton hit a double play ball back to Kison, who dropped it and then finally had to be content with getting an out at first. They finally walked Murray, and Lowenstein hit a double play ball to Garner. He had trouble gripping it, re-gripped it, and then threw wildly over Tim Foli's head in the left field for 2 runs. So it is 2-0 Baltimore. 2 balls and no strikes to Doug DeCinces, and a bluff to third and a look at first. And, of course, invariably the crowd will holler balk. No balk indeed. 2-0 to Doug DeCinces. Right-hand hitting third baseman on deck. Another split hitter. 3 of them in the Baltimore lineup. Billy Smith. Now the 2-0 pitch on the way. In the dirt. Gets away from Nicosia. Here comes Murray to score. Down to second, Lowenstein. 3-0 Baltimore.
Vince, the one thing you cannot do against Baltimore is you cannot make mistakes. Baltimore is not the type of ball club that's going to awe you, but believe me, they do not make many mistakes, and if you make them, you're in trouble.
And Pittsburgh has made 3 big mistakes in the first inning, and just to remind them, there are 3 runs on the scoreboard for Baltimore. Now another runner in scoring position, Lowenstein, and the count to DeCinces 3-0. So Bruce Kison 4-0 in postseason play, but he's in a lot of trouble here tonight in the first inning. Garner bluffs to the bag, and the pitch to DeCinces in there for a strike, 3-1. Baltimore is a team known for not making mistakes. They wound up statistically with 125 errors, but they really play the game well.
They play it like Abner Doubleday wrote it, Vince. They really do.
The 3-1 pitch to DeCinces is a high drive into left field. Back goes Robinson, way back. It's gone. Hits it out, and Baltimore leads 5-0. Let's call it 5 seconds. The stations to identify themselves on the CBS radio network.
WBOW Terre Haute.
So Bruce Kison has been shaken to his toes here in Baltimore. 5-0 Orioles, and the first pitch is way outside to Billy Smith, and Kison is way off his game, and Baltimore's flying high.
Yeah, I would hate to see Flanagan get 5 runs in the first inning.
So Bruce Kison into his windup, and the 1-0 pitch is high, ball 2, and he is on thin ice now. But again, it was Pirate mistakes. Kison's inability to get a double play, Garner's inability to get a double play, and boy, that's all Baltimore needed. There's a strike, and the count 2-1. During the year, Kison allowed a dozen home runs. And in 25 starts, he only completed 3. Here's a 2-1 pitch, off speed and a strike, and the count 2-2. So the Pirates, the best road team in the National League, going up against the 3rd best home team Baltimore has ever had, and Baltimore has him pinned to the mat 5-0. The 2-2 pitch on the way is stroked into right field for a base hit. Big Parker slips but stays on his feet and gets it back in. A single to right, and that might be all as Chuck Tanner makes his way out to the mound. Rick Dempsey, the 8th man to come up in the first inning, will be coming up, and Kison has had it. Remember, we still have only 1 out, 5 runs, 3 hits, 1 very big error, and 2 very poor plays, and Kison is gone. And the first indication of just how treacherous the outfield is was on that base hit a moment ago by Billy Smith.
Yeah, there's no question, Vince. This is going to be a rough field to play. You're going to have to go about it real slow. I heard Jimmy Fry talk before the game, and he said that he's telling all their outfielders to go softly off the ball. Don't try to charge it too quick.
5 5-0 Baltimore. Here in the first inning, again to backtrack, Singleton hit back to the box. That might have been a double play. With the bases loaded, Lowenstein hit a ground ball to Garner that should have been a double play. And, of course, for Baltimore, you give them a break and they cash him in. That was followed by the big home run by DeCinces, and it certainly didn't look as if there's anything wrong with Doug back on that one.
No, and that ball was right where he wants it, up and in. And if you get the ball inside and up to Doug, he'll show you why you shouldn't.
For Doug DeCinces, a little note of trivia, he becomes the 15th player in World Series history to hit a home run in his first at-bat in the World Series. Chuck Tanner, who hit the first pitch he ever saw in his big league career for a home run, is on the sad end of that one. He's walking from the mound now back to the dugout as left-handed Jim Rooker comes in. Rooker picking up the pieces for Bruce Kison. He has a record of 4-7. Started 17 and only relieved twice, and did not have a particularly strong year. His earned run average a little more than 4.5, and he is asked to somehow get the last outs in the first inning. As a manager coming into Baltimore and seeing 5 on the boards in the first inning, that's a tough thing to swallow for Tanner and company.
The only thing, Vince, he might be thinking about the playoff game with Flanagan against the California Angels when they were ahead 9-1, and they ended up 9-8. So I'm sure Charlie's at least keeping that in mind. Plus, you know Charlie very well. He's so enthusiastic, he doesn't even worry about being down with his ball club.
Now we look at Jim Rooker, a left-hander, pretty good hitter, good fielding pitcher. What about his stuff, Sparky?
Well, he's gotten so in the last couple years. He goes a little more off speed. He takes off on his curveball. He puts a little on it, turns the ball over some now. Every once in a while, he tries to straighten you up with a fastball, but he doesn't use his fastball to try to get you out of it.
5-0 Baltimore before what would appear to be a jam-packed crowd despite the inclement weather, and there's nobody talking about weather now. The World Series is underway, well underway as far as Baltimore is concerned, and we've had the first surprise, somewhat of a shock, because we had just finished talking about the fact it would appear going in to be a low-scoring game, and here it is 5-0.
Well, it would have been, Vincent. Like you said, the ball back to mound's a double play, and the ground ball towards the Guardians a double play, and instead of Kison being out of the inning, being a little shaky in the first inning with his throw, he's out of the ball game.
Another thing, too, Sparky, would a manager be a little more intimidated by the fact that it's a World Series? Would he not be quite as brass, or are you really basically the same no matter the game?
Well, I think you're basically the same, Vince. I really do. You have to go with your ball club, and really, as you said, there wasn't Kison's fault. He missed the ball back to him, but then the ground ball was second, so you kind of say to yourself, well, I'm going to stay with him a little bit.
Not as any excuse. Who needs to make excuses for the 2 finest teams in baseball? Rooker's going to go to first just to drive his runner Smith back. Neither team took batting practice or fielding practice. That could hurt on a night like tonight.
It sure does, sir. No question about it.
Rick Dempsey, the catcher up there. Dempsey with a marvelous arm, excellent receiver, hit .239 during the regular year and takes outside ball 1. He can do it behind the plate.
He's excellent. He's one of those guys behind the plate that's just an excellent receiver, and he's a very good thrower, and he gets rid of the ball, and he is very demanding of his task.
And makes contact. He strikes out about 10% of the time, so he's a handy man to hit number 8. He takes a look at his strike, and the count 1-1. 5 runs, 3 hits for Baltimore. A very big error by Phil Garner, and although he was not charged with an error, Kison stuck his finger in the pie and ruined things for Pittsburgh. And Baltimore's Doug DeCinces hit it out. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Line drive at Foley. Across the diamond in the dirt. Gets by Stargell. Billy Smith hesitates, and Stargell overruns the carom. And into second base goes Billy Smith. Stargell looked like a stork going after the ball, and again, it's the treacherous ground. He was afraid he was going to break some eggs going after it.
Yeah, he looked like he was kind of tippy-toeing over there. He wasn't going to go over there too quick, and as you said, your footing's so bad.
So it'll be an error charged to Tim Foli as he tried to double up Billy Smith. And now here's the richest man in town, out of New Hampshire, Mike Flanagan.
Well, he hasn't swung the bat all year.
Remember now, this being the odd year, 79, there's no designated hitter, which means the American League pitchers have to come up there and take their turn. For Flanagan, he didn't know it was this easy to come up 5-0 in the first inning. Foley throwing that line drive away, trying to double up Smith with a second pirate error in the first inning. And And left-hander Rooker delivers, half swing for a strike to the pride of Manchester, New Hampshire. In fact, Flanagan was saying when he woke up this morning and saw snow, he thought he had missed something and slept through a couple of months. It was that cold in Baltimore. But you know Flanagan's not about to miss anything here tonight. 0-1 the count to Mike. 5-0 Baltimore in the first inning. He fouls the pitch back, and the crowd gives him an ovation for getting a piece of the ball. And the count 0-2.
Once he acts like a hitter, I don't know. I've never seen him swing a bat. At least he acts like one.
Brings up a point. Without the designated hitter, I guess that hurts Baltimore.
It hurts Baltimore because they're used to their lineup being set a certain way, and they're used to producing some runs that they wouldn't produce without that DH.
0-2 the count to Mike Flanagan. 2 out in the first inning. Baltimore 5 and the Pirates nothing. Bruce Kison is gone, and Jim Rooker trying to finish up the inning for him. The left-hander, leaning on his knees, looks in to get a sign from Nicosia. The outfield shallow and straight away. Parker, however, shades him a little bit to right center, giving him all of the line. The strike 2 pitch, Flanagan takes low. Ball 1, 1-2. Jerry Newdecker of the American League behind the plate. Engel, Getz, Tata on the line. McKeon and Runge on the foul line. 1 ball and 2 strikes to the left-hand hitting Mike Flanagan. Here comes Rooker, and the pitch is a half swing, another back towards the mound. Nicosia picks it up and throws him out, and the first inning has come to an end, but not before 9 men come to the plate. And for Baltimore, 5 runs, 3 hits, 2 fired errors, and a man left. And at the end of 1, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh nothing. We're going to the second inning here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, and the Baltimore Orioles are well off the ground and almost out of sight. 5 runs, 3 hits, no error for Baltimore, and for the Pirates, no runs, 1 hit, and 2 errors. So Mike Flanagan tuning up. Bruce Kison had to give way to left-handed Jim Rooker, and now the Bucks trying to get off the floor, and they look to Willie Stargell, followed by Bill Madlock, and then the rookie catcher, Steve Nicosia. And by the way, before we get into Stargell battling Flanagan, we should mention the fact, because Wilbur asked us to pass along this, Stargell room, his hotel room, was broken into today. He lost all kinds of valuables, and among other things, he lost some checks. And he has asked us to just spread the word around the country, and for that matter, around the world. If you find yourself being asked to take a Wilbur Stargell check, hold on. It'll bounce sky high. The 38-year-old Wilbur Stargell, known as Pops, has already been burned in Baltimore. 5-0 Orioles. Wilbur, one of the few members of the Pirates who got a heartwarming greeting from the Baltimore crowd. Left-hander Flanagan against Stargell. How do you see it, Spark? How he's going to handle him?
Well, you're going to try again with Willie. They'll stay in tight and try to make the breaking ball real bad off the plate to him, but they're going to try to stay in about the belt to the letters inside on him.
Like most left-hand hitters, I guess he likes the ball down.
He likes the ball down, and he likes it away from him, too. He can really turn you loose, down and in and up and away.
Wilbur takes inside, ball 1, 1-0. By the way, 5 runs in the first inning. I hate to bring this up. We'll tell you why in a moment. Here's the 1-0 pitch to Stargell. He has a look at his strike. The biggest World Series inning since Boston scored 5 in the 4th inning of Game 4 against Sparky Anderson's Cincinnati Reds in '75. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Stargell, way out in front of an off-speed pitch. It was up. It must have looked like a basketball.
Yeah, I think Willie wanted to put that right over the backhand.
1-2 the count to Wilbur Stargell. The big man, of course, had a marvelous championship series. He had .455 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. He backs off high and inside on the next one, 2-2. Stargell finished 5th in the National League with 32 home runs. 6 years ago, he hit 44, but he's still going strong. Mike Flanagan nods yes to Rick Dempsey, comes back 2-2, swung on and missed strike 3.
That Flanagan with his changeup and his off-speed along with his fastball, Minnie, and spotting 5 runs, he could have a little fun tonight because it makes him able to throw whatever he wants to throw.
Flanagan, as we mentioned, third in the American League in strikeouts behind Ryan and Guidry, and he struck out Robinson to end the first inning. Now he strikes out Stargell to open up the second, and Bill Madlock will be coming up. Madlock, twice the National League batting champion, takes a pitch in the dirt, ball 1. I guess he has the fastest pair of hands in the league holding a bat.
Yeah, if you watch him, Vince, he's just a short stroke. He just uses a quick stroke, short stroke, and when he came over from Texas, you could see immediately what a fine hitter he was.
He fouls the pitch away and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Madlock, among his other talents, is a marvelous ping pong player, so you know he has great eye-hand coordination even in baseball.
Well, that's the thing. You know, Joe Morgan, I can remember him at the ping pong table. He could beat anybody, and that's where they get it. They're quick.
So Madlock waiting, 1 ball and 1 strike. Flanagan comes back to him, and Bill checks, and it's a good breaking ball on the inside corner at the knees for a strike, and the count 1 and 2. Madlock ended the year with a 10-game hitting streak. He hit in 15 of the Pirates' last 16 down the stretch. The 1-2 pitch to Madlock, grounded wide to third. DeCinces gobbles it up, regrips it, and throws him out easily.
The thing that the Pirates will find in this series, you know, no matter who wins it, but they will find out one thing. Baltimore can hawk that ball. That Belanger and Doug DeCinces, it's unbelievable. They get everything that goes their direction.
Oh, we have 2 down in the top of the second. 5-0 Baltimore. Steve Nicosia coming up. I think you had a note on a rookie catcher starting in a World Series.
Gibson with the Red Sox was the last catcher to catch a World Series, the rookie catcher in 1967 against the Cardinals.
So it's a big thrill for Steve Nicosia to get in there, right-hand batter, and of course that's why he's playing a shot, backhanded by Billy Smith, throws him out. And Baltimore living up to its advance notices as Billy Smith flashed into his right to take a base hit away, and the Pirates walked the plank in the second inning, and at the end of an inning and a half, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 0. At the end of an inning and a half here in Baltimore, 5-0 in favor of the Orioles. 5 runs, 3 hits, 2 big errors committed by Pittsburgh in the first inning. Meanwhile, Mike Flanagan has allowed just 1 hit. It was a double to right by Dave Parker in the first inning with 2 outs, and then Bill Robinson went down on strikes, and that was it for Pittsburgh. This crowd chanting in the background. The weather and the crowd would make you think of football, but baseball is the subject indeed. Game 1 of the 1979 World Series, and Baltimore out in front 5-0. So the Pittsburgh Pirates won 50 games on the road. They were the best in the National League on the road, but they're coming up against a Baltimore team that won 55 at home, the 3rd successful team in Baltimore history at Memorial. And it is the home team having its way, at least for the moment. And coming up in the bottom of the second inning, it'll be Al Bumbry, Mark Belanger, and Kenny Singleton. Remember, 9 men came to the plate for the Birds in the first inning. Time call for the moment, Bob Engel and Russ Getz, along with Terry Tata, Jerry Newdecker, huddling now halfway between home and first. Time for the moment. It would not appear to be that they are picking this particular moment to talk about ground rules. It looked like Bob Engel had instituted the conversation as if he had gestured to plate umpire Jerry Newdecker. So you have 3 National League umpires and 1 American League umpire in a huddle. I don't know whether it has to do with the pitcher going to his mouth or not. Let's see. Terry Tata is gesturing down towards the left field corner. We can't see in either corner. Maybe there's a piece of equipment down there that they want removed. Maybe there's something draped over a railing. Tata, going down the line, wants to talk to, I assume, a member of the ground crew, and in a minute we'll get it straightened out. So timeout here in Baltimore, 5-0 Birds. In the first inning, Bumbry singled and Belanger walked. Singleton hit back to the box, but Kison couldn't get a double play and could only get the out at first. Murray walked to load the bases. Lowenstein hit a double play ball to Garner. Garner did not come up with the ball and grip it right away. He had a re-grip, then threw high and behind Foley into left field, and 2 runs scored. Doug DeCinces followed with a home run to make it 4. And then, as DeCinces touched home to make it 5-0, Baltimore was off to the races. The plate umpire, Jerry Newdecker, has gone all the way out to shortstop. I would guess it has something to do with the left field corner, but we're not sure. You have any ideas, Spark?
I don't know what's going on, except I know the National League umpires are not agreeing. Newdecker's coming back behind the plate, and I've seen the two National League umpires just shrug their shoulders. So there's something out there that they don't want that's going on.
Now another gentleman behind the plate has been apprised of the situation, and perhaps a message will be forthcoming to the press box. Meanwhile, over on the right side, you have Runge, the right field foul line umpire, Bob Engel, the first base umpire. Both of the National League still in a huddle, and now they go back to their position. So whatever it was, play will continue now in the second inning. 5-0 Baltimore, and Al Bumbry, who opened it up with a single left, will start it off. Bumbry takes a strike on the inside corner. They are getting some explanation about an area in right field. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. Bumbry, the left-hand hitter, looks at a breaking ball down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Vince, I don't know if it means anything, but the American League umpires are wearing red gloves, and the National League umpires aren't wearing gloves.
1-1 the count. Foul back to the screen, 1-2. 41 degrees at game time, and no doubt it'll get a little bit cooler before the evening is out. But, of course, the weather has been very poor throughout the East. And it's not as if Pittsburgh is escape hatch, because we understand the weather has not been very good over there either. 1-2 to count. Al Bumbry, 5-0 Baltimore in the second inning. Bumbry hits one foul off third, and that will twist back out of play, and the count remains 1-2. 11 men have managed in 4 or more World Series. Casey Stengel leads the pack 10 times. McCarthy and McGraw 9. Connie Mack 8, Walter Olson 7, Miller Huggins 6, and a group at 4, and one of them right here with us, Sparky Anderson. 1-2 to count. Rooker into the windup, and the left-handed delivers, and the pitch is low. Bumbry started off and held out.
That's what they're talking about out there. The National League umpires want that muddy place in right field there. We were talking before the game. They want that fixed, so they're going to fix it between innings, I understand.
There are 2 areas which would normally be the sidelines where the benches would be here at Memorial Stadium for football, and those 2 areas have been skinned. There is no grass, no turf there. The 2-2 pitch on the way. Little comeback of the mound. Rooker has it, waits for Stargell, and flips over to get Bumbry one away. Those 2 areas are the areas that took the brunt of the rain. And geographically, as far as baseball is concerned, it would be behind shortstop in shallow left and behind second and first in shallow right. And those are the 2 very treacherous areas, although we saw Parker almost take a header in deep right field. Mark Belanger coming up. Belanger drew a walk in the first inning. That was Kison's first mistake, and the pitch to Mark over for a strike. Belanger had walked 29 times all year, so American League pitchers tried to make him hit the ball. The strike 1 pitch, a check swing, and it's over strike 2. And, of course, it's the old story. You walk a man hitting 167, you're asking for trouble, because then you get into the deep water and you're looking at Singleton and Murray.
Yeah, you get into those guys they call the bad territory.
0-2 the count. Rooker ready, delivers, good breaking ball, strike 3 call. So Belanger caught looking, and down he goes. 2 out in the second, 5-0 Baltimore, and Kenny Singleton coming up. Singleton hitting left-handed against Kison, hit the ball back to the box. Now he's hitting right-handed. What's the difference in pitching to him now right-handed?
He's a high ball hitter right-handed and a low ball hitter left-handed, and he's a much better hitter left-handed. I believe he hit 248 right-handed and 10 home runs and 25 home runs and about 318 left-handed.
Fastball missed outside, ball 1, 1-0. We understand officially the footnote to the discussion amongst the umpires. Dave Parker officially complained about the condition of the field. The pitch is high, ball 2, 2-0. He complained evidently to Runge, who told Engel, who told Newdecker, who told the ground crew, and hopefully it'll be cleared out. 2-0 the count to Kenny Singleton. Back comes Rooker's pitch, swung on and missed 2-1. And let's get back to Parker. He certainly has a reason to complain. Remember when he doubled in the first inning? He almost pulled a hamstring back of the right leg and would have been lost for the series. So you can understand why it is not that he's fussy. He just wants a chance to play. The 2-1 pitch is a ground ball back of third. Tricky hop, backhanded by Madlock. A long throw in the dirt. Gets away from Stargell, and a slide at first by Singleton. Then we'll see how they rule it. Madlock going deep on the line. It'll be a base hit. Madlock doesn't have that kind of an arm.
No, but you know, the thing I've noticed about Madlock, especially in the playoffs, I haven't seen him all year. His fielding, his defensive play has really improved, they tell me, this year.
That's right. Backhanding that ball, otherwise it's a double for Singleton. He was playing him somewhat to the line, but Madlock was still able to cross his body to backhand it. But in doing that, he took himself away from the play, and he couldn't quite get it to Stargell on the fly. So it's an infield single for Singleton. Hit number 1 off Rooker, hit number 4 for Baltimore. The Orioles leading 5-0. And again, the question now, Eddie Murray switching to hit right-handed. How about pitching to him?
Same way. He loves that ball up right-handed. He loves the fastball up right-handed.
5-0 Baltimore. Rooker's fastball is low and outside, ball 1. Couldn't you make a blanket statement and say basically left-hand hitters like the ball low, right-hand hitters like the ball high?
Just about. You're just about going to be right most of the time, then.
The 1-0 pitch on the way, off speed and way outside. Rooker turning it over, ball 2. 2-0. 5-0 Baltimore. Bottom of the second inning, 2 outs. 2-0 the count to Eddie Murray. John Lowenstein on deck. Rooker's 2-0 fastball is whacked into center for a base hit. Moreno up with it, holding at second is Singleton.
When he gets his arms out away from him, he can hit a ball as hard as anybody.
Boy, he hit a blur. John Lowenstein with 2 on and 2 out. Remember, it was Lowenstein who came up against Kison with the bases loaded and hit the double play ball to Garner. And Garner had to apparently re-grip it after picking it up and then threw it into left field. So Lowenstein was credited with 1 run batted in because you can't anticipate a double play. And he's up there now with 2 on and 2 out. It's all Baltimore so far. We're in the bottom of the second, 5-0 Bird. Game 1 of the 79 World Series. Vin Scully along with George Sparky Anderson. Rooker out of the stretch, the left-handed delivers, and it's swung on and missed. And Lowenstein going for the downs. He had 11 home runs during the year. 0-1 to John, out of the Cleveland organization. Rooker blowing on his hands, as we mentioned earlier. Because of the weather, the umpires have agreed they will allow the pitcher to go to his mouth during the course of the year. That costs you a ball in the count. 0-1 the count to Lowenstein. Rooker back and blowing away, and a good save by Nicosia, 1-1.
Vince, I know you know some guys around over your time broadcasting who just would love this little ball to their mouth.
Yes. John Roseborough, years ago in Brooklyn and again in Los Angeles, used to call them country sinkers.
Yeah,
they need a right side as the plate umpire. 1-1 the count to Lowenstein. Kenny Singleton at second, Eddie Murray at first with 2 outs. The 1-1 pitch, check swing, and it's over for a strike, 1-2. Lowenstein looks like a man who doesn't hit against left-handers too often.
He doesn't, Vince, for Earl with 2 outs here. If there was 1 out here, he'd change to Meineke. But with 2 outs, he don't want to take anybody out of his lineup yet because he's stuck in good position from his bench front.
1-2 the count to John Lowenstein. Rooker out of the stretch, checks in the 1-2 pitch, up and away, ball 2, 2-2. Stargell, Garner, Foley, and Madlock. Robinson, Moreno, and Parker in the outfield. Nicosia behind the plate. And Jim Hooker in relief of Bruce Kison, who could get but 1 out in the first inning. 5-0 Baltimore. Rooker out of the stretch and at the belt. And the 2-2 pitch swung on and missed, strike 3. And that'll do it for the Birds in the second. No runs, 2 hits, and they lead 2. At the end of 2, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh nothing. We're going to the third inning, but there'll be a brief delay with Baltimore leading Pittsburgh 5-0. The grounds crew, Santarone and company, and boy, they have done a marvelous job, and they're now trying to put right field into better shape. And, of course, if I'm Kenny Singleton in right field, I'm glad Dave Parker brought it up, Sparky.
I'm sure they might have crossed each other coming in and said, let's get together on this.
So they are sprinkling sand in that area, trying to give the outfielders some footing. Meanwhile, Mike Flanagan quietly going about his work. It's interesting to think back. It doesn't relate to this series, but in the 71 series, you remember that Pittsburgh lost 3 times here in Memorial Stadium, yet they won the series 4-3.
Yeah, Vince, the first game, everybody says, oh, that's the key game. I say it, everybody does. It's not. The key game is that you win the last one, and it's number 4. And it doesn't matter if you're down 2 or 3. They're both great clubs. And one thing about Tanner, I couldn't care less. If they've lost 3 in a row, Charlie still believes they're going to win it. That's the way he is.
By the way, both managers, Earl Weaver and Chuck Tanner, have announced their pitchers. Tomorrow, Jim Palmer against Bert Blyleven. And then game 3, left-hander Scott McGregor against either John Candelaria or Jim Bibby. All right, the field in pretty good shape. Mike Flanagan is ready to go. 5-0 Baltimore. And it'll be Phil Garner, followed by Jim Rooker. And Rooker, a pretty fair-hitting pitcher. And then Omar Moreno. Garner, of course, played in the American League at Oakland, right-hand batter. Garner hit .293 during the regular season. Swings, doesn't get it, and the count 0-1. Garner finished up the year with a 14-game hitting streak. So he really made his contributions down the stretch. He pops one foul off to the right of the play. Eddie Murray coming over to take a look, but that's all. It's well back into the stand. Garner, in the championship series, hit safely in all 3 games. So really, he has himself a string unofficially 17 in a row. He even tied a championship series record, being on base scoring 4 times in 3 games. He takes a look. It's strike 3 called, and Mike Flanagan just puts another K in the book. He has struck out 3 of the last 5 men he has faced.
Doug Garner is a winning player, though, Vince. You know, I noticed when he came over from Oakland to Pittsburgh, he was playing third, then he went to second, when then he got hurt a little bit there. One thing about it, he can hit .240, and he's a winning player.
And for Jim Rooker coming up, down 5-0, allowed to stay in the ball game, and we'll see how Jimmy swings the bat. Right-handed batter. One of the odd things about Mike Flanagan, of course, is what Ken Singleton does when Flanagan pitches. Of course, so far tonight, it was the home run by Doug DeCinces in the first inning. The pitch outside, ball 1. But isn't it odd that Ken Singleton did 35 home runs, and 15 of them he hit while Mike Flanagan was pitching? Just one of those things. The 1-0 pitch on the way to Rooker, and he fouls it away off to the right, back into the seats, 1-1.
Johnny Bench used to do that every time Seaver would pitch when he first came over there. Every time Thomas pitched a ball game, John, he said, boy, I wish you'd go every day. I get the home run every night.
Strange how those things work out. No explanation for it. 1-1 the count of Jim Rooker. Mike Flanagan over the top and a bunt to the left of the mound. Flanagan down to pick it up and throws him out. For one thing, in watching Flanagan come down after the ball, it appears that the heart of the infield is in good shape.
Yeah, the infield was covered good. It had a little moisture get in there on the dirt, which is great, though. The dirt always, to me, needs a little moisture as long as it isn't a slippery moisture.
With 2 down in the 3rd inning, 5-0 Baltimore, Omar Moreno will come up, but he's going to consume a little bit of time and let Rooker get back into the dugout and maybe get a windbreaker on and catch his breath. It wasn't a bad bunt by Rooker. He's a pretty good all-around athlete, but it also showed you that Flanagan's a pretty good fielding pitcher.
One thing about Baltimore's pitchers, you're going to see McGregor, Martinez, Palmer, and Flanagan, all very good athletes. They all can cover first well. They get off the mound well. They execute the bunt coverage thing just perfect.
We'll see now about Omar Moreno. Doug DeCinces plays him in on the grass looking for the bunt. Flanagan into the windup and delivers, and Moreno looks at a breaking ball way outside. Ball 1. 1-0. Moreno and Taveras. What a combination that was for Rabbits when they were running bases. But Taveras is gone. Moreno strokes it to center. Bumbry is right there to put it in the ball bag, and that'll be that. So Flanagan has now retired 7 in a row. He's allowed only 1 man to get aboard the double by Parker. And at the end of 2.5 innings, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh nothing. bottom of the third inning here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. The first game of the 1979 World Series is well underway. And are they delighted in Baltimore? The Birds picked up a big 5 in the first inning, and the Pirates have not shown any sign of recovering yet. But we've got a long way to go with two excellent ball clubs who have battled long and hard to get here. Boy, it is a long year, Sparky.
Well, it's a long year. It always is, Benny, but it's much longer for the Roosters. The winners laugh until George the Roosters yell next year.
For the Pirates, they go way back and look at their year. In fact, through the month of June, they were nothing more than a 500 ball club. Chuck Tanner says that somebody, he's still not sure who it was, but somebody got a get-well card and taped it up on the Pirate bat rack in the dugout, and it stayed up there, and they got well. Suddenly, they were 20 and 11 in July, then went rolling in high gear, winning 21 out of 30 in August, won the tough games in September, breezed in the championship series against Cincinnati, and here they are. So there's no dog in Pittsburgh.
No, Vince, but I think that Montreal ball club really has to be congratulated. Here's a ball club that Dick Williams took was a young club. Last year they came along, but this year they just surprised everybody.
And then everybody said, well, if one good thing Montreal didn't win, it would be too cold up there.
Well, I don't think it's really cold as well.
Not at all. Jerry Newdecker is visiting out on the hill for the moment with Jim Rooker, which gives us a chance to chew the fat here. So now let's get back to it. Doug DeCinces came up and in his first at-bat in the World Series hit a home run with John Lowenstein aboard after the wild pitch had gotten a third run over, and then DeCinces' home run made it 5-0 Baltimore. Boy, with a bad back and playing in cold weather, DeCinces has to go through about a 30-minute warm-up, a stretching of exercises in order to even be able to play.
And then he hurt his leg in that last game against California, Vinny, but I heard him say, I wouldn't miss the World Series no matter if I can't walk.
So the right-hand hitting DeCinces checks in against Jim Rooker, and the first pitch at his feet, ball 1, 1-0. 5 runs, 5 hits, and no errors for Baltimore. Just 1 hit for the Pirates, a double to right field by Dave Parker. But wouldn't you know, the only hit for Pittsburgh is a left-handed batter. 1-0 the count. For Baltimore, 102 victories. Last year, they finished 9 games back of the Yankees. What a year they had. They pitch over for a strike 1-1. There were most people who did not expect Baltimore to do what they did. No way did they say could they beat the Yankees or even Boston. The 1-1 pitch, and that picked up the outside corner in the count 1-2.
No, Vince, on paper, no. But when you watch them play and you watch them together, they are professionals. They go about their work extremely well, and they do the things you're supposed to do to win, and that's why they do win.
Baltimore set a club record with 181 home runs. They were third best in the league there. They had 3 players hitting more than 20. They established a club record with 8 grand slams. The pitch of DeCinces is low, ball 2, 2-2. The Orioles last year, meaning 79, had the best record in the major leagues, winning more than 100 games for the 4th time in the club's 26-year history. And their record at home, 3rd best in their history. DeCinces whacks it foul outside of third and down the line, 2-2. And here are some of the reasons, beside the home runs and, of course, the magnificent pitching. They were tied for second in overall fielding with Detroit, with your ball club, and Milwaukee.
Well, we're very good defensively, and so is Milwaukee. But this club here, you know, they did it steadily all year.
So Baltimore leading 5-0 in the bottom of the third. Doug DeCinces the hitter, 2-2 the count. Rooker looks down the barrel to Nicosia. Steve wigwags the sign out to him, and the 2-2 pitch is just outside. Looked like he tried to cut a little slider to move on the edge, but it stayed out. And the count 3-2.
In the sense that when you play them, there's not a lot of rah-rah. They're very flat. They go about their work, and they just put you away.
The 3-2 pitch on the way outside. Ball 4, and he missed by plenty. So DeCinces opens up with a walk, and the batter now will be Bill Smith. Billy singled to right field in the first inning. Baltimore with 5 hits. They've also received 3 walks. Smith, the switch hitter, will go the other way now and hit right-handed. Over the year, as a right-handed batter, he hit 320, but what it really meant was he only had a few at-bats hitting this way. Only 25 at-bats the whole year.
Yeah, he doesn't have much power right-handed. He didn't hit any home runs right-handed. He hit 6 left-handed. And that's what they'll play the way you watch Baltimore. He'll be trying to hit that ball in that first base hole between first and second. They do it. I played against them this year, 8 games, and that's what they do.
DeCinces off the bag at first, held on by Stargell. Rooker looks, comes to the plate. A big chopper speared by Madlock. Down to Garner. Over to Stargell, double play. And Garner hung tough, and DeCinces almost hurt himself. I don't think he did, but it was a somewhat awkward half slide trying to break up the double play.
I'm going to have to talk to Smitty tomorrow. He's getting me crossed up here all year. They try to hit that hole. Now he's going to try to pull.
And he paid the price. The double play, 5-4-3. The double play that will haunt Pittsburgh because they let it get away in the first inning. And now with 2 down and the base is empty, Rick Dempsey, the catcher, coming up. Dempsey hit one right on the button, but right at Tim Foli in the first inning. Rooker comes to him, over the top, and he's low, ball 1, 1-0. On deck, Mike Flanagan. Rooker, feet together on the rubber. Jim back to the plate, snaps his fastball low, ball 2, 2-0. When the Bucks come up in the 4th inning, in case you're not keeping score, they'll have Tim Foli, Dave Parker, and Bill Robinson. Jerry Newdecker doing a little house cleaning behind the plate, so timeout for the moment. 5-0 Baltimore, bottom of the 3rd. Jim Rooker, 36 years old, out of Oregon. The left-hander back to the plate and missed outside ball 3. He's from a little town in Pennsylvania called Library. Jim into his windup, and the 3-0 pitch, and he gets it over for a strike. 3-1. Rooker had some experience with Kansas City and Detroit in the American League. The 3-1 pitch coming up, a busted back ground ball to Garner. Phil runs through a puddle, picks up the ball, and throws him out. So Dempsey had one sawed off, and that'll be that for Baltimore. And for the first time, they only have 3 batters come up in an inning. And at the end of 3, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 0. We're in Baltimore, game 1 of the 1979 World Series. The Orioles leading the Pirates 5-0. Mike Flanagan tuning up. He'll be pitching to Tim Foli, followed by Dave Parker, and then Bill Robinson. With Flanagan leading, he has allowed only 1 hit, a 2-out double by Dave Parker, who stayed at second. Mike has retired the last 7 in a row. Not only was he the Major League's winningest pitcher, he also tied Nolan Ryan and Dave Leonard for the American League lead in shutouts. He had 5 during the year. He's got 3 smoke rings on the board now as he goes into the 4th, and Tim Foli will start it off. Foli choking up on the handle when he had 2 strikes on him to show everybody here why he is so tough to get in strikeouts. Slide to left field in the first inning. Right-hand batter. He has matured. When he first came up to the New York Mets, they called him Mad Dog. The pitch to Foli in there for a strike on 1. Now, a mainstay and a wise head in the Pirate infield. It's really interesting to watch a young ball player evolve into a mature player. Ground ball foul outside of 3rd.
Well, Gene Mock did so much for this young man when he was at Montreal with him, and he never really settled him down as far as his temper, but as far as his baseball knowledge. And now, as you said, he's matured and settled down that way.
Solid ball player. Fists one. A little loop at a shallow center, and it's going to drop for a base hit. So Foley is jammed 0-2, and he's still able to nub one into center for hit number 2 of Mike Flanagan. And the batter will be Dave Parker. Parker doubled to right in the first inning, grounding one between Eddie Murray and the bag. So Parker followed by Robinson. Mike Flanagan not only won 23, but boy, from July 9 on, he was really something. He won 13 of his last 16 decisions over 16 starts, and his earned run average was only 2. Mike ready and goes to first. Almost a little hesitation that time, Spark.
Yeah, that's not his good one. He's got one that's right borderline on the far side.
It doesn't figure Foley's going to do any running down 5-0, and he retreats, and the fastball is at Parker's chin, ball 1. So Foley, even though it was not a good move on the only throw over there, was still going back to the bag when Flanagan came to the plate. Flanagan also was a streak pitcher. He had 8 straight victories from the 9th of August to the middle of September. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Parker swings and doesn't get it. 1-1. And as far as his move to first, he picked off 8 runners during the year.
He has a very good move, and like I said, it borderlines for me. I got down at first base and watched him in the dugout, and it really borderlines for me.
Well, it was a good point you made, too, at the start of the game. Flanagan back to the hitter inside, ball 2, 2-1. The fact, there's always so much talk about the National League or American League umpire behind the plate, but in your book, it is just as important, maybe more so, as to the fact that there was a National League umpire at first examining Flanagan's move to first. 2-1, the count to Dave Parker. Flanagan at the belt, now comes up with the hands and then throws over to first. And again, Foley back to the bag. Tim doesn't figure to do much running anyway. He only stole a half a dozen during the year. And down 5-0, he figures to be quiet. Now the 2-1 pitch to Parker's a ground ball in the hole, through into right field. Singleton coming up to get it, and Foley, his former teammate, keeps on going to third. I think Foley felt that he could run on Singleton because it was going to take Kenny a little bit of time to get to the ball.
I don't think on a good dry field that Foley, down 5 runs, Vince would have tried to go to third base there.
Exactly. And third holding, and down to second goes Parker.
Foley made a great play there. That's what the one thing that I meant when I said playing for Gene Mock, what he learned. That was a great play. He knew that if he go to the plate, the sensei was going right with him, and the sensei picked him up, and he knew that he wasn't going. He went to first.
And of course, Foley knew the ball was not hit hard enough. There was no thought of the sensei trying to get a double play, because otherwise, first and third, you want your man to come in.
Against 90% of the guys would have went home and been out.
Is that right? Well, then that's a feather in the cap of Tim Foley, and now here's Willie Stargell, second and third, 5-0 Baltimore with 1 out and first base open. And Wilbur takes inside, ball 1, 1-0. Stargell, during the regular year, 82 RBIs, 32 home runs. 5-0 Baltimore, and the Pirates trying to make a little noise for the first time tonight. Foley down the line from third, Parker away from second. Stargell, a one-hopper, plugged nicely on the right side by Billy Smith to get him as Foley scores and Parker takes third. And the Pirates are on the scoreboard. Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 1. Bill Madlock coming up, trying to pick up a man at third with 2 down. Madlock, with the Giants and Pittsburgh, had a total of 85 RBIs, and he's a tough man to pitch to, especially in this spot, because he makes so much contact. He takes low, ball 1. Madlock grounded to third in the second inning, but we should point out that the entire season, Madlock struck out only 41 times, and we're talking about 560 at-bats. So it's a tough third out for Flanagan here, with Dave Parker third. 1 ball and no strikes. On deck, Steve Nicosia. As the manager, leading by 4 now, does that mean you're going to perhaps walk Madlock? Off-speed pitch in there for a strike.
No, you want to get Madlock because you got 2 outs, and the chance of a base hit are very slim. I don't care if you're 300 hitters, 3 for 10. They don't want to walk him in case Nicosia does have some power. He can make the ball game 5-4 real quick.
1-1, the count to Madlock. Flanagan delivers. A little low, ball 2, 2-1. Mike Flanagan and the Baltimore Orioles leading the Pittsburgh Pirates 5-1 in the 4th. 5 runs, 5 hits for Baltimore, including a 2-run home run for Doug DeCinces. 1 run, 3 hits, and 2 big errors for Pittsburgh. Flanagan at the belt and the 2-1 fastball. Oh, he muscled up on that one. Jumped in there for a strike. 2-2. I'm surprised Madlock was looking like that.
Well, I think with 2 balls and 1 strike, Madlock was guessing with him. Him throwing that off-speed pitch when he's behind, and he was kind of guessing. He wished now he was looking for that fastball.
Roy Campbell used to call that the express, and it left him at the station. Now the 2-2 pitch. Off-speed, full foul outside of third and down the line, so the count 2-2. Does Earl Weaver call pitches?
No, Earl doesn't call no pitches. He leaves it up to Dempsey. They go over everything so well, and they really go for records. You know, Earl's a great paper man. He believes records on every hitter, records on every pitcher. I'm not a great record man, no.
2-2 the count to Bill Madlock, and he grounds another one foul outside of third and down the line. Earl Weaver in his book is now a part of Americana. They've had him on television during the championship series looking at a dog-eared pad, so it sure gets a workout. And it has paid off for him. What a manager.
Oh, he's outstanding, and he's been around a long time and proved it.
2-2 pitch, fastball, fouled away. Madlock did not quite get around on that one. Fouled it a little bit off to the right. He had pulled the off-speed pitch, but then he was a little bit late on the fastball, and the guessing game continued. Of course, now with 2 strikes, he has to be looking fastball.
He has to be looking for the ball. You're right. You're looking for that fastball.
Flanagan out of his stretch in the 2-2 pitch. Off speed and a shot foul. Almost took the toes off Parker. And it's still 2-2. Al Monchak coaching at first. Joe Lynette at third for the Bucks. Chuck Tanner piloting in the dugout. 5-1 Baltimore in the 4th inning. Madlock trying to pick up Parker. Nicosia on deck. Flanagan left foot on the rubber. Mike nodding yes to Rick Dempsey. Now the left-hander's pitch is outside and high. Ball 3. So he goes all the way to Bill Madlock. Madlock, we said, doesn't strike out. He also doesn't walk. He is not a fellow who is just going to take a lot of pitches. He's up there swinging. And as we mentioned earlier, led the league in batting 2 consecutive years. 75 and 6. 3-2, and time called by Jerry Newdecker. So Madlock backs out. A lot of batting gloves, and they're worn on both hands tonight to help the grip. 3-2 pitch, and Madlock takes inside with a breaking ball. Ball 4. Flanagan walks up the man. He sure wanted that one.
He thinks that ball picked up the inside part of the corner, and he wanted that pitch.
So for Mike Flanagan, that would be his first walk. He has allowed only 3 hits, 1 run. And now Steve Nicosia coming up. A lot of pressure on this young man. After all, he's a rookie. Ed Ott did the bulk of the catching. But with Flanagan starting, well, Nicosia got a nod to go behind the plate. And here he is in a pretty important spot. 1st and 3rd, 2 out, trying to keep the inning alive. Timeout. Pirates going to and from the bullpen back to right center. They have closed the gate back of Kenny Singleton in right field, and play continues. Madlock at first, Parker at third, 2 down in the 4th, a run over, 5-1 Baltimore. The pitch Nicosia high and inside, ball 1. Do you have much to do with this boy?
No. Tell you the truth, Vince, I never have.
Just wondering how he would pitch him, but from that first pitch, he was up and in on him. We'll see some more now as Flanagan out of his stretch. Now the 1-0 pitch to Steve is a ground ball to short. Belanger, the vacuum cleaner, picks it up. End of story as they get a 4th play at second base. So 1 run on a couple of hits and 2 left. And at the end of 3 1/2, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 1. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. The Orioles leading the Pirates 5-1. Baltimore picked up 5 in the 1st inning. Doug DeCinces hit a 2-run home run. The Bucks made a couple of errors, also messed up a possible double play ball. And behind the strong pitching of Mike Flanagan, Baltimore leading 5-1 in the 4th. Jim Rooker had to pick up and get the last outs in the 1st inning for Bruce Kison. And a reminder, the same 2 ball clubs tomorrow night, Jim Palmer and Bert Blyleven. What about those 2 pitchers, Sparky, as we wait now for Nicosia to put the gear on? Palmer, fastball, big, slow, overhand jug, and a consistent winner.
Well, Palmer is a high fastball pitcher. He pitches from the belt up. His ball rises for him. He's got a good fastball now. He doesn't have the fastball maybe he had 3 years ago. But it's plenty good. And then he's got that big, slow curveball of his. But the thing he has now, he gets a lot of left-handers out. He breaks that slider right on the hand.
And for Bert Blyleven, for some reason, it's amazing how these things pop up. Somewhere along the line, somebody apparently thought that Blyleven couldn't win the big game. Of course, he didn't talk to a hitter.
No, it's funny how that is, how people say they can't win the big one, or this guy don't have the courage. This guy is an outstanding pitcher, and I think the other day he showed his great stuff.
And if he doesn't have the meanest curve in baseball, it'll do.
It's one of those kind that will send you home to the farm.
That's Jim Farmer and Bert Blyleven tomorrow night. But right now, Mike Flanagan at the plate backs off at a pitch of the kneecaps, ball one. This might be Jim Rooker's last inning of work. He is due to bat second when the Pirates hit in the fifth inning. In Pittsburgh with a pretty deep bullpen. The 1-0 pitch, Flanagan, a big rip, but he comes up empty in the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. Michael Kendall Flanagan, born in Manchester, New Hampshire, lives in Cockeysville, Maryland. The pitch outside, ball 2. Let's pause 5 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the CBS radio network.
Listening to the 1979 World Series on WBOW Terre
Mike Flanagan hit foul off third, and that'll peel back well out of play, going into the lower deck, and the count 2-2. So Flanagan forced to swing the bat. In fact, in looking over, it would appear as if only 3 Baltimore Orioles have really ever swung the bat. We're talking about pitchers now: Stanhouse, Stone, and Farmer. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Foul back out of play. And we should qualify that again by saying in the big leagues, Stanhouse swung the bat for Montreal last time in 77. Stone for the Giants and the Cubs last time in 76. And, of course, Farmer goes back enough. He swung the bat in 1972 for Baltimore. But for the other Baltimore pitchers, it's a new experience indeed. Honestly, in your heart, Sparky, do you like the designated hitter?
Well, I have to be honest, but from a manager's standpoint, I like the chance of maneuvering the man out of his pitcher.
Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way, and Flanagan looks, ball 3. So Mike Flanagan goes all the way, head-to-head with Jim Rooker. Enrique Romo begins to throw in the Pirate bullpen. There's a ground ball wide of first, under Stargell's glove, and into right field. And Mike Flanagan, who has not swung a bat since shortly before the invention of the wheel, grounds one into right field. And that has to be a thrill point.
Well, the Oriole bench will be going wild on that one. They'll have a lot of things to tell him about that.
Singles, Stargell going, oh, wait a minute. They are flashing E, and they felt that Stargell should have gotten down for that ball, so that caused the boo in the background. By the way, there are 3 official scorers for the World Series. J.T. Surratt, the president of the Baseball Writers of America from Montreal. Ken Negro of the Baltimore Sun. Phil Garner of the San Diego Union. And majority prevails, I assume. So take the hit away from Flanagan, and they're going to give an error to Stargell, and that would be 3 Pirate errors tonight. The pitch, a bunt attempt by Bumbry, didn't get it, and the count 0-1. So Stargell charged with the 3rd Pirate error. Bumbry singled, hit back to the box. The Pirates, with Madlock well in on the grass at third, looking bunt. And Rooker ready, Bumbry around the bunt. Pulls the bat away. It's inside, 1-1. Is this a typical Weaver maneuver, leading and go with the percentages, left-hander against left-hander?
Yeah, Vince, when he gets ahead of you usually, well, he'll always play for another one. He feels that each time he scores one, you've got to get 2, so he's absolutely correct.
Oddly enough, however, Bumbry only sacrificed twice this year, but of course he's in the leadoff role. 1-1 to count to Al. Rooker, a look over at first. Left-handed delivers. Bumbry takes outside. Ball 2. 2-1. 5-1 Baltimore in the 4th inning. Mike Flanagan standing at first. Jim Rooker picking up for Kison. We told you this figured to be Rooker's last inning of work. And they're throwing back of him in the bullpen. The 2-1 pitch is low. Ball 3. 3-1. Down in the bullpen, you have the right-hander, Enrique Romo, and the veteran, much-traveled left-hander, Dave Roberts. Roberts, a left-hander. Romo, the right-hander. 3-1 to count to Bumbry. Now Rooker ready, and the pitch to Bumbry. He bunts 3-1. Down to get it is Rooker, a good fielder. Throws to Garner in time for the out, and the sacrifice works. Bumbry moves his man along a notch, and the batter will be Mark Belanger.
You know, Vince, so many times you'll see a man going up there to bunt, and then the count is 2-0, 3-1, and they let him hit. That's the one thing about Weaver. When he sends them up there to do something, they're going to do it, whether it's 2-0 or 3-1.
He's not going to let the count make him go against himself.
The count doesn't change what he had in mind to start with.
Well, here's Belanger now. He walked in the first inning and came around to score. Struck out in the second. Rangy right-hand hitting shortstop. With one out, Flanagan at second base. And left-hander Rooker deals, and he's low, and Belanger chased it in the count 0-1. Belanger, with a total of only 9 runs batted in, and he's up there with a chance to pick somebody up tonight. The strike one pitch to Mark, low and inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Boy, it must be so frustrating to have the glove that he has and then have the bat that he has.
Yeah, it's not understandable either because he puts the bat on the ball. The funny part is Mark doesn't strike out that much.
So Belanger up there, 1 ball and 1 strike to count. The pitch is looped into center, but moving up for it is Moreno to handle it easily, and Flanagan has to hold. So 2 down. And here comes a big man, Kenny Singleton. Hit back to the box in the first inning, and that was the beginning of the end for Kison when he did not get the double play. And then he singled in the second inning. Pulled the ball behind the bag. It was a pretty good play by Bill Madlock. So 2 down, 4th inning, 5-1 Baltimore. They picked up 5 in the first inning, and Rooker has done well to keep them quiet since. Singleton checks in, hitting right-handed now, and Rooker looks in to get his sign. Jim out of the stretch, a look back at Flanagan, and Singleton's a high fly ball into deep right center, but Parker says he has it, and the big guy has just that as he drags it in right in front of the warning track in deep right center field. So they leave Flanagan at second base, and at the end of 4. Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 1. The paid attendance for this first game of the series, 53,735. The third largest crowd in Memorial Stadium history. The other 2 were games 3 and 4 of the 1966 series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Baltimore Orioles. And, of course, that was the series where Baltimore just shut out the Dodgers after the Dodgers scored 2 runs in the first game, and Baltimore went on to sweep them. So the third largest crowd on one of the coldest, untimely days as far as baseball is concerned. There was some snow here in Baltimore for the first time in history on this date, but the good folks are here, well bundled up and most enthusiastic. Phil Garner will start things off for the Bucks in the 5th inning, 5-1 Baltimore. Then we'll see if Tanner goes to his bench. He has Romo and Roberts in the bullpen, and Rooker is due up second. And he would appear to be going to the bench. Manny Sanguin rattling around down there in the near corner of the Pirate dugout. So it'll be Phil Garner, Manny Sanguin batting for Jim Rooker, and then Omar Moreno. And Mike Flanagan sailing along, leading 5-1, going to work in the 5th inning. Left-hander ready, fastball moves on the outside corner for a strike, 0-1. Garner struck out in his only trip and, of course, committed a damaging error in the first inning when he threw a double play ball into left field. The off-speed pitch way out in front of it. Garner might be pressing a little bit.
Yeah, I think after that error, you'd like to get a base hit here and kind of get things rolling, get the Pirates back in the ball game so he could forget about it, Vince.
The strike 2 pitch to Phil Garner. He bounced it. Looked like he was going to try and throw a screwball that time, and it was in the dirt 2 feet in front of the plate. 1-2 to count to Phil Garner. Baltimore scored 5 in the first inning. The Pirates got their only run in the 4th, and now we're in the top of the 5th. Back comes Flanagan, breaking ball inside. Boy, he's got all kinds. Come directly over the top that time and just missed.
Yeah, Flanagan wanted that, and so Dempsey.
2-2 the count to Phil Garner. Mike checking. Dempsey setting his target behind the plate in the 2-2 pitch. Fast one fouled away, keeping the ball down. 2-2. Tomorrow night, Jim Palmer and Bird Blyleven. Hope you'll join us beginning at 8:15 Eastern Time, right here on CBS. Mike nodding yes to Dempsey in the 2-2 pitch to Phil Garner. fastball drilled into left field, and that might go to the wall. It does. Chasing it is Lowenstein, and Garner digging for two, and he's into second base standing with a double. So Phil Garner opens up the fifth inning with a double, and Manny Sanguillen will be coming up to bat for Jim Rooker. That would be the fourth hit for the Pirates against Mike Flanagan. Would swing at just about everything. He would take a swing during the national anthem. He's that kind of a hitter.
We used to say, "Don't wind up and fake it," because you'll take a shot at it.
Sanguillen wound up hitting .230 for the Bucks this year. The pitch to the right-hand hitting catcher, chopper to shortstop. Belanger sets for the throw and gets him, and with the ball hit ahead of him, Garner had to hold at second. Typical Sanguillen, swung at the first pitch.
Vince, I think Belanger, the more you see it, is going to remind you of the guy that you used to get to watch every day, Pee Wee Reese. He's one of those guys that goes over, everything's two hands, and when he gets the ball, he comes right up directly to throw. I mean, there's no sidearm, no flashy attempts. It's just get the ball, come right up.
I remember Gene Mork was once talking about playing shortstop, and he said, everybody talks about an infielder, you have to have quick hands. And he said, you play shortstop with your feet. You have to be a graceful glider, a dancer, and you can see that in Belanger just watching him in a couple of innings.
Always in position to throw. That's the way Conception, the years I've seen him. He's always in position to throw.
With one down, Garner at second base, and of course Sanguillen, which brings up a question I have to ask you about Sanguillen, with the Pirates down by 4, but right now Marino's at the plate, and Flanagan delivers a strike, 0-1. Would you have instructed Sanguillen, hey, I don't care if you make out, all right, you're a pinch hitter, the chances are you're going, but try to take a shot to right field or at least get that man over to third?
He has to. It's only the fifth inning. He's still 5-1. He's got to get this other run in here, get him to third, let Marino have a ground ball, they'll be playing back, make it 5-2. You cannot do it all at once, and I used to remember Charlie Dresden always used to say, let's don't try to get them back by the crate load, one at a time.
It's a little thing like that, and we just bring it to your attention. A pinch hitter coming off the bench with a runner at second and nobody out, and instead of getting him over to third, which is one of the real big plays of baseball, he pulled the ball to the shortstop, wasted the at-bat, did not move the man, makes it twice as tough now for Marino or Foley to pick him up. 5-1 Baltimore in the fifth inning. Marino grounded outside to center, waves at a curveball. He almost came out of his uniform that time. 0-2.
You know, Vince, what you were saying, instead of Marino being able to hit now for a ground ball or a fly ball, he has to hit for a base hit. It was totally different when you're hitting that way.
And so many people just seem to forget all about that good ball player who can go the other way and get the man over to third. 0-2 to count to Omar Moreno. Flanagan ready, the left-handed sidearm outside. First time we've seen him come by way of first base.
He'll drop down on the left-handers, and I know the guys at my club used to say it takes some courage, Bill, to stay in there.
You know, and I always quote Campanella because he's so quotable. He used to say that when a pitcher did that to you, gave you the jelly leg. That front leg just disintegrated on.
Big Stab Sam Jones.
1-2 to count to Moreno. Another sidearm roundhouse curve, got him swinging.
You know, I think Eddie Stanky, what you were talking about, Vince, had the greatest saying for when a man was on second, the guy that got him to third moved him over with that ground ball to the right side. That was his RBI. He said the man hitter was supposed to hit a ground ball or a fly ball.
Now with 2 down, Tim Foli coming up, and there is Garner, who opened up with a double, and he's still there, which is a tribute to Flanagan's pitching, to Sanguillen, and of course it's a minus as far as Sanguillen's appearance, not trying to go the other way. Foley trying to get a piece of the ball and hit it somewhere. Fastball a little high to Tim, ball 1, 1-0.
I think Bob Skinner deserves a little piece of credit here with what he's done with Foley. He started this with him when he come over and got him to choke way up to just control the bat.
1 ball and no strike to the Pirates shortstop. Flanagan back fastball on the outside corner for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Baltimore 5, Pirates 1. Top of the 5th inning with 2 outs. The Birds gave Mike 5 in the first inning, and so far he's making them stand up. On deck, Dave Parker. 1-1 pitch to Foley is sprayed foul down the right field line, out of play. 1-2. So Foley with 2 strikes, and immediately the battle has been joined again. A Flanagan who can strike people out, 3rd in the league, against the toughest man to strike out in the National League. 1-2, the count to Tim Foli. And he might have moved up another inch or two on the bat. Half of it sticking out below his hand. And he fouls it away. 1-2. 5 runs, 5 hits for Baltimore. 1 run, 4 hits, 3 errors for Pittsburgh. One of them a borderline ground ball under Stargell's glove that doesn't figure in the game. The other 2 were big ones.
Baltimore's done some excellent scouting in their outfield because they've got Bumbry dead in right center and Singleton on the line, and the left fielder playing actually straight away and left.
1-2 fastball is hit down to third. DeCinces easy play. Across to Murray in time for the out. And as we said, and for the last time, the key to the inning, the inability of Sanguillen to get Garner over to third. No runs, a hit, a man left. The end of 4.5. Baltimore 5, Pirates 1. We're moving to the bottom of the 5th inning at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. The Orioles leading Pittsburgh 5-1 in Game 1. And for the Bucks, the third pitcher of the game, Enrique Romo, R-O-M-O, coming out of the Pirate bullpen. Bruce Kison went 1/3 of an inning and was charged with all 5 runs. Rooker did very well. 3 2/3 innings, no runs, just 2 hits. Walked 1, struck out 2, and was never in any real trouble. And now Enrique Romo. And I guess you could say Romo throws every pitch that man has invented.
But the one thing good about this, the Baltimore club has seen so much of Romo because he was in Seattle for 2 years there. They know him. The umpire knew that he knows him. So really, he's only been away for a short time. He's kind of took a little vacation over to Pittsburgh. So they all know him.
He's from Mexico. His brother Vicente has pitched in the big leagues. And Enrique, especially, we're talking about all of the different pitches, but the right-hander has a pretty mean screwball.
Yeah, they say he has a very good screwball. I know the people at the Detroit Club are talking about him. They said he's got all kinds of pitches to do a little bit like Tian. Occasionally he'll turn his back on you and come out with a sidearm and a curveball. They say sometimes he's got so many pitches he confuses himself.
Interesting to note, too, that when he came from the Mexican League with the Mexican Reds, he finally came to the big leagues with Seattle in '77, and he recorded his first major league victory in May of '77, and it was against Baltimore. Little did he know, 2 years later, he'd be going against the Birds for Pittsburgh in the World Series. Enrique Romo. Romo, 5'11", 185-pounder, 32 years old. During the regular season, Romo was 10-5, and he was a workhorse. He was in 84 ball games. Pitched almost 130 innings. Of course, you look at that Pirate stab, and you realize that Kent Jacoby was in 94 games, Enrique Romo 84 games, and you know why the Pirates did not have many complete games, only 24 for the whole season. Of course, you had the nickname of Captain Hook at Cincinnati.
And I wasn't even close. I'm turning that over to Kelly. Kelly's going to get my hook and everything else I got because I didn't deserve it with those kind of stats.
And you know, actually, if you're going to be the manager of the Pirates, what better name than Captain Hook?
It would work perfect for Charlie, and I think tomorrow, Benny, I'm going to give him my hook.
All right. We will officially give Chuck Tanner the title of Captain Hook. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Eddie Murray, John Lowenstein, and Doug DeCinces in that order. Romo is not ready, however. He takes a tongue depressor and goes out on the grass and cleans off his spikes. That's what they usually use, a tongue depressor. The same thing the doctor gives you to say, ah. That's what they put out on the mound, and the fellas scrape their spikes clean. Murray.
Sometimes when you're getting shelled, the manager wants to use it to check you.
Yeah, right. Now, here's somebody who's made a lot of pitchers say, ah. Eddie Murray. He has walked and singled, scored a run, hitting left-handed again. Enrique Romo into the windup. Works off speed, fouled away. Does it bother a hitter to move back and forth, left-handed one at-bat, right-handed the next at-bat? Have you found hitters grumbling about doing that?
No, because, I was with Rose for 9 years, and truthfully, he believed he could hit from either side. He could care less. He said, just get it up here. I'm going to take a hack at it.
I asked Jim Gilliam once, what's the toughest thing about switch hitting? And he said, not getting hit by the ball. In other words, as a left-handed hitter, you get your right shoulder out, but you have to do the other way around, and you get nailed. 0-1, the count to Eddie Murray. And Murray, tired of waiting, backs out, so Romo will have to wait for him. Enrique Romo, the third Pirate pitcher. It's 5-1 Baltimore, bottom of the fifth. I'm Vin Scully, along with Sparky Anderson, visiting with you from Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. Strike one pitch on the way. Slider inside under the hands, 1-1.
This is a young man, Murray. Really, Lee May done a tremendous job with him since Lee's been over here. He's really good this boy, that attitude about if you're 0 for 4 and we win, who cares? If you're 4 for 4, who cares? Unless we win.
1-1 to count to Eddie Murray. Somewhat of a crowd. Romo back high and outside. Ball 2-1. Sparky, probably outside of dealing with men in general, the toughest thing the manager has is to tell whether a pitcher has got it, is losing it, is tiring, whatever. What's the key, if you can tell us in between pitches, the key for you, something as a guideline? 2-1 to count to Eddie Murray, because then we can file it away and maybe use it throughout the World Series. Romo ready in the 2-1 pitch to Murray. Change low and inside ball.
And you look for his velocity. You know his velocity by eyesight, basically. You also have a sign once you catch it. Give me a sign if he's losing his velocity. But what you watch for, and Charlie Bresson taught it to me, in the first inning, if you start high, don't worry about the adjust. But after the fifth, if he goes high, his legs are gone on him. Go get it.
3-1 pitch to Eddie Murray. Breaking ball outside, so he threw the whole book at him, and he walked him. So Eddie Murray walks for the second time. And that'll bring up John Lowenstein, the left fielder. He hit the ground ball to Garner, which is the biggest play of the night, really. Garner had a chance for a double play to end the first inning. Phil had trouble fielding the ball and then threw it into left field high over Tim Foli's head. Instead of a double play, 2 runs were in, and the Birds went on to score 5 times in the first inning. And last time up, Lowenstein struck out. Enrique Romo working on the left-hand hitting John Lowenstein. Romo, a look over at Murray, comes back to his hitter high, ball 1. Murray at first base does so many things well. He stole 9 out of 11 this year, so he can also run pretty well when he has to. But with a left-hand hitter up, I would guess Earl Weaver wants Stargell on the bag to open up the right side of the infield.
Earl doesn't run that much, Vince. He doesn't run an overall. He takes it really easy there, lets his hitters do the whacking more.
1-0 to count to Lowenstein. He had 11 home runs. That was the second highest total of his big league career this year. And as usual, he played all the outfield positions. Lowenstein fouls it away in the count 1-1. Lowenstein, as we mentioned earlier, was on the disabled list. He hurt his left ankle. He played 40-some-odd games in left field, 40-some-odd in right. He played a game at first base. He started 1 game at third and in center field. And in his big league career, he's played every position except pitcher and catcher. John Lowenstein.
You got to say he's an all-around player.
All around. 1-1 to John. Romo delivers and has a high fly ball into center field. Moreno signals that he has it, looks up into the Baltimore night and makes the catch for the out. So Lowenstein, a fly ball to center, 1 away. And Doug DeCinces coming up made, I guess, as good a play as a third baseman can possibly make, and certainly in the conditions against California.
Yeah, the play was the old Brooks Robinson play. I think they patented it here in Baltimore because I've seen Brooksy do it so many times in that 70 World Series, and DeCinces is the same type of player as Brooksy. He's got great range going to his right, a little better range going to his left than Brooksy, but I'll say one thing, he don't have any better hands than Brooks Robinson at all.
Doug DeCinces grew up in Northridge, California. Lives in Valencia, not too far away from you, Sparky.
No, he's right out in our territory, and all those California players seem to end up over here in Baltimore. They got a lot of California players in Baltimore.
Here's DeCinces now with Murray at first, held on by Stargell. Romo will look over there, and the breaking ball wrinkles in nicely for a strike in the count 0-1. 1 out, bottom of the 5th inning. Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 1. Anything unusual about Romo's move?
No, Romo, if you watch him, is a little high leg kicker. If you want to run, the one thing about him, you'll give a chance to run on him because he does have that high leg kick.
Enrique out of the stretch. A backward glance at Murray and decides to go over there. The Stargell driving Murray back. 5-1 Baltimore, bottom of the 5th inning. Doug DeCinces. Boy, what a year. Tore a muscle in his back late in April in Oakland. Missed 33 games. The strike one pitch, low and outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. He came back in the lineup in June, and the back has been bothering him on and off. Boy, what a year he had last year. He hit 28 home runs. This year it's fallen off to 16, but you can understand because of the back injury.
Vince is wrong. He ought to have a crooked arm. I don't think he knows what a fastball is.
No.
Either twisting for the screwball or twisting for the breaking.
He threw 1 fastball. Remember, it was one-handed by Nicosia, very high, almost to the backstop. 1-1 pitch, side armor, a little flat curve down and away, ball 2, 2-1. 1 out in the 5th. 5-1 Baltimore. Doug struggling at the plate before and after his injury. However, from July, for about over 3 weeks in July, he hit about 350. His high for the whole year, 262. And he finished up hitting 230. But he's fighting it. However, he came up and hit 1 out. DeCinces had 16 during the regular year and hit 1 for a 2-run home run in the 1st inning tonight. 2 balls and 1 strike to the right-hand hitting third baseman of Baltimore. Eddie Murray off the bag, held on by Stargell. The outfield is deep. Moreno slightly off the mark in left center, and a battle of wills going on right now. Who's going to get ready and who's going to pitch?
Well, they're both getting a little stubborn right now. They just want to show they're not going to give in.
Romo off the rubber, looking into Nicosia to get his signs. Now he's on and goes to a stretch. A backward glance at Murray, and the 2-1 pitch to DeCinces in there for a strike. 2-2. Looked like he was going to pull the trigger and then thought better of it.
There's another breaking ball. He's got that breaking ball down pat, Romo.
DeCinces hit the home run in the 1st inning. Went over a month without hitting a home run during the regular season. But he came just when you least expected, and it was in the 1st inning when Lightning hit here tonight. 2-2 to count. 1 out, 5th inning, 5-1 Baltimore. Enrique Romo, the third pilot pitcher, deals off speed, and it's popped in the air. Tough play, late start, but Parker is able to move in now to make the catch. Parker had no jump, trying to pick it off, and then was able to move into the somewhat of a quagmire out there to handle it. 2 down. And the second baseman, switch hitter, Billy Smith coming up, singled to right in the 1st inning, and hit into a double play in the 3rd.
You know, Vince, I think what guys did during the season you can throw out in the World Series, because how many times, you know better than me, you have a star that you never heard of, and all of a sudden then he becomes a great star just from the World Series.
In fact, there have been countless columns written where a fellow will take a rainy day piece and go back and look at some of the greatest players who have ever played this game, and you find out how poorly they did in World Series games, All-Star games. It's just one of those things. Here's Billy Smith, 1 for 2. And there goes Murray. The pitch, a strike, and no play. So Eddie Murray had a jump on Romo and steals it easily. And did it with 2 out and a left-hand hitter at the plate. Would you say that's a little bit of a surprise?
Well, I think what happened there, Earl's pretty sharp. He knew that Romo, he thought Murray would go in the 1st inning, and he didn't, so he said, well, he won't pay any attention to this first pitch, and he didn't.
And soon as he had that high kick that you talked about, the old story about baseball, you take everything they give you.
Everything. And those high kickers, I love to watch those, because when you get a high kicker, the old Dodger way, we used to have that one-way lead. We were taught that. That's what we do. When you get a high kicker, you got it.
They're going to walk Billy Smith and take their chances with Rick Dempsey, so there's ball 2 coming up. It'll be an intentional walk to Billy Smith following the 2-out stolen base for Eddie Murray. And Rick Dempsey, who has lined out and grounded out, coming up. If you are Earl Weaver, I guess you really had to expect this.
You expect it, but you kind of hope for it. You got 2 outs. You just soon see your 8th hitter come up here, because if Rick would get a base hit or even get on, he's getting the pitcher out of the way. So it's giving him 1 man closer to the pitcher with 2 outs.
Which is the thing you were talking earlier about Earl Weaver. He plays the game the way it was designed.
Yeah, Edna Doubleday wrote it, and Earl's never buried much from it. He's got it down pretty flat. I like his way, because for 22 years, he's never been under 500 as a manager.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, that's a pretty good record there.
Oh, with 2 out in the 5th inning, and Baltimore leading 5-1. They have runners at 1st and 2nd. Billy Smith at 1st. Eddie Murray at 2nd, and here's Rick Dempsey. He hit a bullet at Foley in the 1st inning, grounded out the other way to Garner in the 3rd. Romo out of the stretch. Enrique checking. The right-hander out of Mexico delivers and gets the first one over for a strike. 0-1.
You know, though, Vince, I think there's one thing people don't want to forget. The guy you had for so many years, Walter Austin, won over 2,000 games, and Earl just reached his 1,100 this year, so he's got a way to go. Got to take a little bit.
Yeah. 0-1, the count to Rick Dempsey. Dempsey, another fellow who grew up in Southern California, lives in Agoura now, and they think so highly of him here, they just signed him recently to a 5-year contract, which extends through 83, so he's got job security for a while. The strike one pitch on the way. Romo, fastball. That's only the second one we've seen him throw, and he missed with it. And he count way up again with that. Dempsey has surprised some people. He hit a half a dozen home runs this year. He had hit 6 home runs in his first 5 years in the big league. And he's hit 12 in his last 2 years, so perhaps he's maturing physically a little bit now. He's 30 years old. Breaking ball missing, ball 2, 2-1.
Vince, whether they like it or not, and I know that some people in baseball don't like it, that ball is juiced up a little because you're seeing guys this year hit home runs. I've seen some hit in Detroit that they said they didn't see except when Merrill hit them.
And you know what really is surprising? How many warning track outs you see now. Here's the 2-1 pitch coming up to Rick Dempsey. Romo deals in the dirt. Good save by Nicosia. Ball 3, 3-1. On deck, Mike Flanagan. For Dempsey, he has one thing that is certainly great for a catcher. He is durable. He's caught 258 of the last 321 games, the most ever by an Oriole catcher in a 2-year span. Even more than Gus Triandos. Dempsey is not as big as Gus was. He's 6 and he weighs 184. Here's a 3-1 pitch. The runners take their leads. Fastball, foul back, 3-2. So with all the variety of pitches, you get behind 3-1 to a Dempsey, you got to come in 3-1 fastball.
I'm surprised, Vince, because Dempsey being a good fastball hitter, and they know it, having 3-1, he throws, that's all he's been throwing, his breaking ball. Why he get away from it, I don't know. He could have got hurt there real good.
Well, we'll see what he does now. And, of course, the Orioles get a slide edge. The runners will be going. Eddie Murray from second, Billy Smith from first. 2 out in the 5th, 5-1 Baltimore. Romo out of a stretch, checks the runners, they go. Fastball, fouled away, out of play.
Yeah, it's hard for me to understand. If you're throwing breaking balls, you're throwing them because you think you can command them. That's the pitch you think you can command. And now he gets behind here, and of all times, with 2 out and people run, he's going to throw fastballs.
Now we'll see. He's given him back-to-back fastballs. We'll see whether he dares to come back in with a screw-G or one of the many different pitches he has. It's been Kison, Rooker, and now Romo, and it's 5-1 Baltimore in the 5th inning. Runners ready to go again. Eddie Murray from second, Billy Smith from first, Dempsey at the plate, and the 3-2 pitch, fastball, and a high fly ball into shallow left. Trotting in is Bill Robinson under it and makes the catch for the out. And I'll tell you, nothing is sure when you come trotting in on a very treacherous outfield. But the fastball got him, and that's it. 2 men left without a hit. And at the end of 5, it remains Baltimore 5 and the Pirates 1. I'm Vince Scully, along with Sparky Anderson. Game 1 of the 1979 World Series, the 76th in the long and glorious history of it. We're in the 6th inning, 5-1 Baltimore. And the weather is okay.
Yeah, the weather seems to warm up a little. I don't know either it's warm up or we're close to death, maybe. I don't know which.
Well, as long as you don't feel sleepy, they say that's the first time you're going. There's no way to sleep here. Baltimore 5 runs, 5 hits and no errors. Pittsburgh 1 run, 4 hits and 3 errors. And the big guys coming up for the Bucks in the 6th inning. That would be Dave Parker, Bill Robinson, and Willie Stargell. Dave Parker finished 7th in hitting this year in the National League at .310. It's the 4th straight year that he's finished in the top 10 in hitting. And in his first year, he was 11th. He finished the regular season with a 9-game hitting streak, hit safely in all 3 of the championship games. And tonight he doubled, so he's still on a streak. Unofficially, he would have hit in 13. He takes outside, ball 1.
You know, Dave, people ask me, is there any difference in the American National League? No, but I didn't see a Big Parker, Dave Parker. I never got to see him.
And he strokes one into right center field for a base hit. So Parker comes up with a line single to right center as the Pirates try to come back. Baltimore with 5 in the first inning. Flanagan, by the way, completed 16 of his 38 starts. And in this day and age, anytime you get close to completing half of your starts, you're outstanding. So Parker takes his lead, and the pitch to Bill Robinson is low. 5 hits for Mike Flanagan. Steve Stone tuning up. Right-hander in the Baltimore bullpen. Flanagan out of his stretch, looks at Parker, comes to off speed, and way out in front of it is Robinson. Boy, that's some change.
That's a super change, and McGregor, he owes him for that. He gave it to him, and everybody in the league's upset with McGregor now.
For Mike Flanagan, he's a little better than 3-1 at home in his career. The pitch is spoke foul outside of third and down the line, 1-2. In the past 2 years, Mike has won 26 games here at Memorial Stadium and lost only 8, so he likes it here.
Yeah, he loves the pitch here, and he always pitches a good ball game here. He tries to keep the ball out in the middle of the ballpark, and he doesn't let you pull too much on him.
This year, he had 3 3-hitters. He had a couple of 4-hitters. He went 12 innings against Chicago and struck out 12. That was a long stint for him, the longest of the year. Mike leading 5-1, working on Bill Robinson. The 1-2 pitch on the way, fisted foul off to the right. Robinson was jammed. He was going to go out and get something, and instead Flanagan came in after him.
I think I was looking down at the on-deck circle there. Willie Stargell's acting like he's hitting each time with the pitch. He's getting ready. He's trying to get his timing down a little off of Flanagan. Flanagan's a little rough on him.
Dave Parker has been a little rough on Flanagan as he takes his lead. He's 3 for 3 against the left-hander. The 1-2 pitch is low at the right foot of Robinson. Ball 2, 2-2. Parker is certainly not about to try and steal any bases down 5-1 in the 6th inning. But when he runs, boy, he is a terror. He stole 20 out of 24, and he's liable to knock a grandstand down someday. The 2-2 pitch to Robinson, and that's a dunker over the head of Billy Smith, dropping into right field. Parker will stop at second, and so the Bucks now have runners at first and second, nobody out in the 6th inning, trailing by 4, and they have Willie Stargell coming up. 6 hits. And what is more important, 5 hits in the last 2 innings plus. Willie Stargell struck out and grounded out, so Flanagan has been able to silence the big first baseman. Wilbur pinwheeling that bat around. Looks like the propeller of an airplane about ready to take off. And Flanagan delivers, and Wilbur swings and doesn't get it. 0-1. You know, I was surprised. He's 38, been around, had a magnificent career. And during the championship series, watching some close-ups of him hitting, he really appeared nervous. He was huffing and puffing, taking deep breaths and all kinds of things.
I was looking at the banquet last winter, and he said, the people asked him, do you ever get nervous? He said, I'm nervous at all times. If you're not a performer.
Here's the strike 1 pitch to Stargell. He has a look, and he pays the strike for the privilege, and the count 0-2. As nervous as he might have been against Cincinnati, he hit .455. He had 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. He was a mainstay.
He's not bad for a young player, Benny. He's not bad.
0-2 to Wilbur. Back comes Flanagan. Side-on curveball. Got him swinging. Strikeouts for Mike Flanagan. He's gotten Moreno, Robinson, Stargell twice, and Garner. And now here is Bill Madlock. So a big out as Stargell not only making out, but unable to hit the ball, unable to advance anybody. Parker at second, Robinson at first. Madlock has grounded out and walked. Flanagan deals fastball. He didn't get around on it. Fly ball to shallow right, and coming in a hurry is Singleton to make the catch. And a much tougher play than normally because of the condition of the field.
You're not kidding, Vince. In fact, I thought when he hit that wet spot out there, it's a little drier there. If been a little closer in, he would have feet would have run right out from under it.
So a big play for Kenny Singleton. 2 out, and still runners at first and second. And the batter now, Steve Nicosia. Time out for the moment now. Belanger, along with Dempsey, talking to Flanagan. The age-old question, going on out on the mound.
Well, what he's telling right now, he said, now, look at Mike, you've gotten 2 out. Don't get careless now. Remember, 1 more out, we're in the dugout, so get back off this rubber. He's going to have him think a little bit. How are you going to pitch him? Let's go get this guy, because we can get out of this inning now without them scoring. We're pretty well home.
Dempsey likes to go out to the mound.
He likes to go to the mound, and Flanagan will walk away from him sometimes.
Get mad at him, huh?
Dempsey go right after him. It's really funny. They're like 2 bulldogs out there.
Well, this time Flanagan was doing a little listening. Dempsey giving him the pep talk. Dave Parker led off the inning. He's at second. Bill Robinson followed with a base hit. He's still at first because Stargell struck out on a big sidearm curveball, and Bill Madlock flied to right. And now here's Nicosia. Flanagan ready, delivers, and the right-hand hitting catcher fouls it as he turned Joe Lynette around in the third base coaching box. Nicosia lost a base hit in the second inning. Remember, Billy Smith backhanded a ground ball and took a hit away from him. But then the last time up, he hit a ground ball to Belanger. 0-1, the count to Steve Nicosia. Nicosia, right-hand hitting catcher, Ed Ott, goes the other way and works in most of the game. The pitch off speed and low, and Nicosia almost fell down. He was battling himself to try and keep that bat back, and he did a good job. 1-1. Nicosia is from New Jersey. 24 years old, 5'10", 185 pounders. As we said, he backs up Ed Ott. Ott will be in there tomorrow night against Jim Palmer. There's the 1-1 pitch to Steve. Breaking ball low, ball 2, 2-1. He really gives you that short-arm curveball.
You know, the thing that people say, well, why can't you hit that slow thing? It's his arm speed. If you watch, we can't even tell what it's going to be until it gets up to the plate.
That's right. All of a sudden, the arm is about 6 inches shorter when he throws that pitch.
He's got great arm speed.
2-1, the count to Steve Nicosia. 2 on, 2 out, 5-1, Baltimore in the 6th. Flanagan dribbles high, and a throw, no, and he held on to it, did Dempsey. Had he thrown, it would have been a problem because Robinson had beaten Murray back to the bag, and Eddie might have lost sight of the throw. So Rick Dempsey wisely elected to hold on to it.
Garner's over in the on-deck sector saying, please get on, let me make amends. I'll jerk one out here and make it real quick.
3-1 pitch to Nicosia, swung on, ground ball to the hole, knocked down at third by DeCinces, and he falls down in pursuit of the ball, and everybody's safe. Doug DeCinces, moving to his left, got his glove on the ball. It spilled out of the glove, and then as he tried to pursue it, he fell down. Belanger, of course, was going the other way as they crisscrossed, so Mark had no chance, and they are giving DeCinces an error. So would you believe now, because of the error, the Bucks actually have the tying run at the plate in the person of Phil Garner. Garner struck out and doubled, and he has a chance to get Pittsburgh back in the ballgame. Lee Lacy is out on deck to bat. He would be hitting for Romo. Flanagan delivers, and Garner looks at a strike. Garner had 11 home runs and 59 runs batted in during the season. 0-1 the count. Parker, Robinson, Nicosia taking their lead. Garner swings at a bad ball, and it looked like he was pressing on that pitch. 0-2. Don Robertson throwing now in the Pirate bullpen. 0-2, and listen to this crowd now trying to root Flanagan home. The strike 2 pitch is in the dirt, bounced away, and a good scrambling save by Dempsey. Or that goes to the backstop for a run. 1-2 the count. Lacy hoping to get up, but Garner has to keep things going with 2 out here in the 6th inning. 5-1 Baltimore. Timeout for the moment now. Flanagan almost threw a shoe on the far turn. He's tying the laces of his left shoe. Nicosia is at first on the error. Robinson is at second. Parker is at third. 2 out in the 6th inning. Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 1. Flanagan out of a stretch in the 1-2 pitch. Slow curve, grounded up along third. Foul ball. Foul ball. The crowd was looking at the ball with their hearts, but it was a foul ball. Terry Tater on the line to signal immediately. Do you like Flanagan pitching from a stretch with 2 out, 1 and 2?
You know, that's the thing I haven't been able to understand, and I try to tell all the young pitchers, why, with a man on third and 2 out, would you pitch from a stretch? Because why wouldn't you pitch the ball game that?
Right.
To me, from a windup, you get much more drive. I have to think that he'd go to that windup. That thing's stopping that runner. You're not going to stop him on a base hit with 2 out.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. What a time to go to your stretch. Well, keep an eye on, see if he keeps doing it. Garner Baptie's going to go from his stretch again, so I guess what it might feel is he gets much better control. The runners taking their leads. 2 out, 1 and 2 to Garner. Flanagan ready in the left-handed deals, and it's fouled away off third. DeCinces coming over, but that's out of play. Out of play amongst the customers, of whom we have 53,735. The third largest crowd to see a World Series game here in Memorial Stadium.
I think Mike gets much better reception, too, Vince, when he's winding up. He gets that roll on you, rolls that leg on you, and hides the ball. This way, he doesn't get near his deception. Well,
out of a stretch he comes again, and the 1-2 pitch is a breaking ball grounded right into the Orioles dugout. It's still 1 and 2. Garner, fighting that curveball, had all of his weight on his left foot so that his right foot came off the ground. He was really battling it.
Yeah, he was going to stay right there and wasn't going to get himself too far out in front.
Dave Parker at third. Bill Robinson at second. Steve Nicosia at first. 2 out in the 6th inning. 5-1 Baltimore. Here comes Flanagan. The pitch to Garner. Fastball. Hit into left field. Base hit. In comes Parker. Here comes Robinson. And it's Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 3. And the Bucks are back in it. We're only in the 6th inning. And suddenly this big crowd is quiet. And here comes Earl Weaver. Weaver evidently allowed Flanagan to pitch out of the stretch. I'm sure otherwise he'd have sent up a shrill whistle and said, hey, go to the windup.
Yeah, I guess he felt that Mike felt comfortable that way, so he's going to leave him there. I just hate to see him pitching on a stretch with 2 out.
Lee Lacy being announced now as the batter for Enrique Romo. Weaver talking to Flanagan. Remember, Mike finished just about half of his games this year. So Lee Lacy comes up with 2 on, 2 out, and 2 in the bank. Baltimore leading Pittsburgh 5-3. And I don't care who the player is, whatever team in whatever league, it is nice to see a guy who made a 2-run error in the first inning come battling back to get a double and a single and knock in a couple.
It sure is, and he battled him. That's what it was there. That was a complete battle.
Now let's see about Lacy hitting for Romo. Right-hand hitter. Lee after the first one. He is another fellow who comes off the bench swinging. How did you pitch to him when you were with Cincinnati?
Try to keep the ball down on him. He liked that ball up, and he liked it hard. He loved that fastball, and he liked it up.
So Lee Lacy hitting for Romo. The strike 1 pitch to Lee. He fouled that one away, so he's 0-2. Lacy hitting for Enrique Romo, and we have ourselves a ball game again. It was 5-0 Baltimore, 5-1 in the 4th inning. Now it's Baltimore leading 5-3. The strike 2 pitch to Lacy is fouled away, so he's still there 0-2. Lacy, a very valuable ball player for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was weaned in the organization. It was back to 1969. Came out of Oakland. The same high school that produced, among others, Frank Robinson, Vada Pinson, and Kurt Flood.
Well, they weren't too bad. The high school coach had to get pretty smart.
I don't think so. In fact, he was big with the Dodgers. He had a .382 average as a pinch hitter, including 5 home runs and 10 RBIs. The pitch to Lee, ground ball to third. DeCinces juggles, picks it up, and missed the sliding runner, and the bases are loaded.
It's the one thing you don't see Baltimore do, and they've done it tonight. Doug's made 2 errors, and it's cost them so far 2 runs in this inning, and it looks like another base hit right here, and we'll be tied up.
Would you believe 5 errors in 5 2/3 innings? 2 errors charged to Doug DeCinces. One on a ball hit to his left, which was a tough play. That ball was hit at him, and it looked like a pretty easy play, but he couldn't handle it. Then tried to dive and tag the sliding Nicosia, but Nicosia, wisely with a good hook slide away from the tag, was able to beat the play. So the bases are loaded. Still 2 out. Steve Stone is going to have company down in the Baltimore bullpen. Robertson is throwing in the Pirates pen, and here's Omar Moreno. The pitch to Moreno, in there for a strike, 0-1. Flanagan has struck out 5. His biggest strikeout so far in this inning, he got Willie Stargell for number 5. But it's 5-3 Baltimore. Top of the 6th inning, and the bases are loaded. Nicosia is at third. At second is Garner. First, Lacey and Moreno. A fly ball to Bumbry. The center fielder waiting. He's got it. However, the Pirates get back in the ball game as they send 8 men to the plate. They get 2 of them home. 3 hits, 2 errors. And at the end, 5.5. Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 3. The chant continues, undaunted, here in Memorial Stadium, Baltimore. The Orioles jumped out to a 5-0 lead, but now it is 5-3 Baltimore. And the 2 errors by Doug DeCinces in the 6th inning certainly gave Pittsburgh life.
Not only life, Vince, what it did is it turned this batting order around for him, because now they have Foley leading off in the 7th, Parker 2nd, then Robinson 3rd, and Stargell 4th. There's a very good chance that now they'll hit again in the 9th, where before they would have only had 1 more shot.
Sometimes, so often, in watching a ball game and broadcasting a ball game, you'll say, well, the error doesn't mean anything because the next man made out and the inning ended. However, each time you let a good ball club get that extra at bat, let somebody like a Stargell or a Parker get the extra swing, or are you just asking to be knocked out of the ballpark?
Well, anytime you're asking those big bombers to get 5 shots at you instead of 4, if they get that 5th shot, you might have struck Stargell out, say, 4 times in a game. But that 5th time, he'll show you why you should have never made that mistake.
Coming out of the Pirate bullpen is Don Robinson. Big guy, 6'4" and 230 pounds, only 22, out of West Virginia. And Robinson, a workhorse, he is 8-8 with the league. He started 25 games, so he only relieved in 4. And he earned run rates almost 4. And Robinson coming in, and he will be working against Mike Flanagan, then Bumbry and Belanger. 5 runs, 5 hits, and 2 errors for Baltimore. 3 runs, 7 hits, 3 errors for Pittsburgh. So the Pirates have used Kison, Rooker, Romo, and now Robinson. The Pirates have used pinch hitters Sanguian and Lacey. And Baltimore going with the starting 9. And here is Flanagan, thrown out by Nicosia and a board on an error as he hit one under the glove of Stargell in the 4th inning, and Mike takes outside, ball 1. Don Robinson, big man, throws pretty hard. Looks in to get a sign. Right-handed comes back 1-0. And the fastball is low and inside. Ball 2. 2-0. Any thoughts about Don Robinson, Sparky?
Yeah, last year when they had him last year, I thought he was a good-looking young pitcher as I've seen in the 9 years I've been in the National League. He had a little trouble. He come a little heavy to spring training this year, Vince. He's had a little trouble with the back and that, and now he's not throwing good again.
2-1 the count now to Mike Flanagan. Left-hand pitcher hits that way, swings, fouls it away, and the count 2-2. And, of course, for Earl Weaver, and this was a subject we talked about earlier, Baltimore without the designated hitter, and that kind of slows their attack down since the 1st inning. They're not having a Lee May or somebody like that up there.
It's changed their whole outlook of the game, because when you have the big bopper in there, you always depend on him to hit one during the ballgame for you.
Robinson's 2-2 pitch to Flanagan is outside. Ball 3. 3-2. 5-3 Baltimore, bottom of the 6th inning. 5 errors in the game. 3 by Pittsburgh, and 2 of them leading to the 5-run 1st inning for Baltimore. The pitch is swung on and missed, and down goes Flanagan. Robinson was in 2 games against Cincinnati in the championship series. He just worked 2 innings, but he struck out 3, so you know he throws kind of hard.
You know, Vince, I have to think this cold weather has something to do with the errors. I'm not making alibis or excuses for any of them, but, you know, when you play in this kind of weather, you just don't move and your hands just don't get the feel.
Al Bumbry singled, hit back to the box, and sacrificed. 1 for 2. All of the errors on the infield. Robinson ready and delivers, and Bumbry sprays it foul off to the left out of play. 0-1. When the Pirates hit in the 7th inning, they have Foley, Parker, and Robinson. Baltimore scored 5 in the 1st inning, but the hitters have not done very much. They have had only 2 hits since the 1st inning. 0-1 the count to Bumbry. Robinson strike 1, breaking ball, and a beauty. Came over the top and broke it off.
That's that hard one. They're tough to hit right in that spot.
0-2 the count to Al Bumbry. Now the strike 2 pitch on the way. Another breaking ball hit down to shortstop. Foley has it, slings it across to Stargell in time. Stargell dropping the ball long after he came off the bag while in the act of throwing. 2 down. And Mark Belanger coming out. Walked and scored a run in the 1st inning. Struck out and flied to center in the 4th. Belanger, long, lanky right-hand hitting shortstop. Don Robinson, both feet on the rubber, looks down to get a sign. On deck, Ken Singleton. Robinson inside, turned him around with a fastball at the hip.
That's hard, Vince. He's throwing real hard right now, and that ball's getting up there what they call real quick. You better tune up the knob a little.
1 ball and no strikes to Mark Belanger. Robinson back to him, more heat, and it's fouled away. 1 ball and 1 strike. So let's pause 5 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the CBS radio network.
And you're listening to the 1979 World Series on WBOW Terre Haute. It's 10:01.
1-1 the count to Mark Belanger. 2 down in the 6th inning. Baltimore 5, Pirates 3. First game of the 1979 World Series. It started a couple of minutes late, and a lot's been going on. So we're in the 6th inning, and the game is about 2.5 hours old. Now the 1-1 pitch coming up. Fastball, foul back, and the count 1-2. Belanger trying to keep something going, and of course for Baltimore, the fear that perhaps somehow or other this game is turned around. They've lost the incentive. The 1-2 pitch is a breaking ball, low ball 2-2. 5-run first inning, home run by DeCinces, a couple of Pirate errors, and now suddenly it's as if it's the second game of a doubleheader. The 2-2 pitch, breaking ball, hit down to shortstop. Foley sets, throws in the dirt, dug out by Willie Stargell, and that'll do it in the 6th inning. So Baltimore still with only 2 hits since the 1st inning. But at the end of 6, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 3. We're moving to the 7th inning at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, 5-3 in favor of Baltimore, and Mike Flanagan, who is still in there, stubbornly bobbing and weaving and fighting, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, because he got 2 errors back of him by Doug DeCinces in the 6th inning, and that got Pittsburgh back in the ballgame. Looking at the Baltimore Orioles, as they started, Mike Flanagan on the hill, Rick Dempsey behind the plate, Eddie Murray at first, Billy Smith at second, Mark Belanger at short, Doug DeCinces at third, John Lowenstein in left, Al Bumbry in center, Kenny Singleton in right. Sparky, in the 7th inning, Flanagan has made a lot of pitches by now. Is there anything you do as the opposing manager? Do you instruct your hitters, it's getting late in the game, make him throw a strike, or is that not part of the thinking?
No, with Charlie, with his ball club, they play it packed all the way. It's a little different situation with them. He lets them go up, and they swing away at all times, Vince, because that's been their tactic. Got him there, and he just lets them go.
We'll see about letting them go now with Messrs. Foley, Parker, and Robinson. 7th inning, 5-3 Baltimore. Flanagan, both feet on the rubber. Mike nods yes to Dempsey. And the first pitch to Tim Foli. Fastball hit to the left of shortstop. Belanger comes up with it and throws him out.
He's out outstanding, Vince. He's one of those guys that you really call a groundhog. He just gets down into the ball so well, and it's amazing over the years how he's continued to keep his range.
I know it was Lee May who put the tag Hoover on Brooks Robinson. Well, Belanger's a runaway vacuum cleaner down there between second and third. Dave Parker, and Flanagan has not been able to get him out. Booker, no book, left-hander against left-hander. Parker's 3 for 3. He doubled to right, singled to right, and singled to right center.
I'd lob an underhand to him, Vince. He couldn't do any more. I just say, here, see what you do. That's now.
Flanagan starts to go to a windup, thinks better of it, and backs off for the moment, so Parker backs out, but now they hook up. And left-hander Mike Flanagan over the top. Breaking ball swung on and missed 0-1. Strike to Dave Parker. 7th inning. 5-3 Baltimore. Now the strike one pitch as Flanagan comes back. Slow curve. Hit off the end of the bat. Even slow to DeCinces, who throws him out. Nice play by Doug. And the left side of the Baltimore infield looks as good as ever.
Yeah, that's the one thing. He makes that play coming in great. Even though he's had back trouble, it's funny. The ball coming in, he makes that play as good as Brooksy did.
So with 2 out, Bill Robinson coming up. Robinson struck out, grounded out, and singled. He's 1 for 3. This is a pretty big inning for Flanagan, coming off a tough 6th inning to try and get him out in order in the 7th. And he might do that as Robinson, it's a fly ball to Kenny Singleton in right center, and the big guy pulls it down, and that's that. And that's what Flanagan needed. So the Pirates are gone in order for the first time since the 3rd inning. And at the end of 6.5, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 3. Little dancing music, country style, at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. And the Birds have a reason to dance, as have their fans. It is 5-3 Orioles in the bottom of the 7th. The Big Birds will be coming up. Ken Singleton, Eddie Murray, and John Lowenstein. Oh, yeah. Hot fiddle. That tunes up everybody. Here they come. Kenny Singleton hit back to the box in the 1st inning. Singled deep back of the bag at 3rd in the 2nd and flied to right field in the 4th. The Pirates with Don Robinson on the hill, Steve Nicosia behind the plate. An infield of Willie Stargell, Phil Garner, Tim Foli, and Bill Madlock. An outfield of Bill Robinson, Omar Moreno, and Dave Parker.
You know, Vince, when you see Singleton, Stargell, and Parker, you think of football players, not baseball.
Boy, aren't they big? Oh. And then you add somebody like a Dave Winfield. They're about as big as they come.
Oh, boy, they can go out and play against any of them.
So Singleton 1 for 3. Switch hitter batting left-handed. Don Robinson comes. Fastball in there for a strike. 0-1. Outside corner at about the knees. Kenny Singleton. Magnificent year for Baltimore. The change is outside. 1-1. Singleton hit .313 left-handed, .248 right-handed, 25 of his 35 home runs as a left-handed batter. The 1-1 breaking ball low and inside, so he's given him the fastball, straight change, and now the breaking ball in the count 2-1. The 2-1 pitch on the way, and Singleton takes low and inside, ball 3.
Once he chases no bad balls, that's what makes him a good hitter. He hits strikes at all times.
You know, it's surprising that he does strike out as much as he does.
Because he's always hitting usually 3-2. Every time you look up, he's hitting with a 3-2 count.
He struck out 118 times this year, and yet he has a good eye for the strike zone. The 3-1 pitch, fastball fouled away, 3-2. Of course, there are some hitters, it seems, they become better hitters with 2 strikes.
Well, yeah, you had a first base, Steve Garvey. I always used to tell him, get him out before you get 2 strikes on him when they're on, because that's when he'll hurt you.
I know Jackie Robinson was probably as good a 2-strike hitter as you'll see. 3-2 to Ken Singleton. Robinson into the windup, delivers, breaking ball outside. Nicosia thought he had it. Robinson thought he had it, but plate umpire Jerry Newdecker said no, and it's ball 4 to Kenny Singleton.
And Tanner thought he had it because he gave a little yell for a moment there.
Now here is Eddie Murray. Robinson singled, scored a run, and stolen a base. Robinson off the mound to clean his spikes, and the chant begins, Eddie, Eddie. Robinson checking with Foley. Foley, the shortstop, moving to his left a bit. But Bill Robinson is plenty deep in left field with the left-hand hitter up there.
He's got power to left field just like a right-handed pull.
Wow, that's just what I was going to say. Robinson playing him in left field as if he was hitting right-handed. The pitch is a strike. What came flying out? Something that almost...
I thought it was the baseball.
Yeah.
I wondered why Singleton wasn't running. It was part of a sponge or something.
Yeah, but it looks like Nicosia's sponge came flying out of the mitt. Throw to first to Stargell. That'll send Singleton back. 0-1 the count to Eddie Murray. Eddie in a crouch, bends at the knees, back of the left ear, wiggling a little bit. He doesn't have a quiet bat for such a good hitter.
No, he likes that wiggle to let you know that it's very dangerous.
0-1 to Eddie Murray. Switch hitter wound up hitting .295 with 25 home runs and 99 ribbies. Murray swings, foul, tips it in the count 0-2. 5-3 Baltimore. But Baltimore picked up 5 runs on 3 hits in the first inning. They had 2 hits in the second inning, and that's it. So they've only had 2 hits since the first inning. The game went the other way for the Pirates. They had just 1 hit in the first 3 innings, and then they started to make some noise, picked up a run in the 4th and 2 in the 6th to get close. 5-3 Baltimore, bottom of the 7th, nobody out. Murray waiting, Singleton off the bag, and now Murray tired of waiting. Singleton, by the way, is not a base-stealing threat. He was 3 out of 4 this year, but he just doesn't run much.
You can actually play behind him, Vince, and he wouldn't run here.
0-2 the count. A little surprising Stargell right on the bag with Murray up there, as you say, since he doesn't run. The pitch to Murray is hit the other way, sliced foul down the left field line out of play. Actually, he hit the ball on the fists, and he hit it inside out the other way. 0-2. Anybody in the American League stand 3 or 4 feet off the bag, closer towards the mound, so you split the difference between holding a man on and behind the bag?
No, I never seen that over here this year, but Stargell's doing something Vince right now. It's been unused on every pitch. He's standing over in foul territory, and then he'll come over to the bag. He acts as if he don't want to talk to anybody that's getting on first.
0-2 to count to Eddie Murray. Robinson delivers, breaking ball outside, ball 1. The Houston Astros started that little wrinkle where the first baseman, in this instance, Singleton is not a runner. Why hold him on? Well, we won't go behind the bag either. All right, then let's play about 3 feet off the bag towards the mound. It's just a pretty good
play, because if the guy does get too far off, you can fire over there and get him diving.
1-2 to count to Eddie Murray.
As you remember, the Pirates, Tanner, when he first came over, started that with Stargell, and it was annoying a lot of the runners.
Well, I was wondering, but he's not going to do it tonight. 1-2 to count to Eddie Murray. Robinson hands at his sides, now out of his stretch. John Ruddy, right-handed, deals high and outside, ball 2. In 3 years, Murray has hit 27 home runs twice, and then this year 25. What a young ball player.
Yeah, he's an outstanding young player, Vince. He's one of those guys that you know in about 3 more years, when he gets totally disciplined, he's going to be one of our real stars of the game.
He's already an all-star for Baltimore and for the American League. Eddie Murray, double 3s on his back. Switch hitter, batting left-handed against Don Robinson. Robinson is the 4th Pittsburgh pitcher. It's been Kison, Rooker, Romo, and Robinson. And Mike Flanagan trying to go all the way for Baltimore. 2-2 to count, and Robinson delivers, breaking ball fouled away. I think Robinson, or I should say Eddie Murray, was looking for something inside, and Robinson gave him the breaking ball away, and only a good hitter can foul off your good pitch.
They're good reflexes. They're able to react even though they're looking for something else. They'll fight that other ball off.
I guess that's one of the real signs of a good hitter. He'll spoil your good pitch.
That's good hitters. That's guys that couldn't hit. We couldn't even hit the good ones, so we couldn't worry about the bad ones.
2-2 to Eddie Murray. Robinson ready. A check of Singleton. A change is hit to straightaway center. Moreno is there. Omar puts it away. And back to first digs Kenny Singleton. Pretty good change from a guy who throws hard.
Very good change, and he kept him out in the middle of the ballpark. He got the ball away from him where he couldn't get to it good enough.
So with one down, the left fielder in the left-hand inning, John Lowenstein, coming up. And again, as Sparky mentioned, Willie Stargell backs away from the bag, stands in foul territory. Meanwhile, Phil Garner is picking at his spikes. You're going to have to ask Wilbur about that.
I have to, because Wilbur usually loves to visit, but he don't want to visit, I guess, during a World Series.
All right, now Stargell is on the bag, and Lowenstein at the plate. Seventh inning, 5-3 Baltimore. Robinson delivers fastball in there for a strike. Stargell will be first up in the eighth inning for Pittsburgh. Each time standing in the lane in foul territory, looked over towards Tanner. Now he's back on the bag. Singleton a very short lead. Strike one pitch on the way, and Lowenstein takes outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Lowenstein, who won the first game of the championship series with a pinch hit home run in the 10th inning. Strong left-hand batter, 0 for 2 tonight. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Low, ball 2, 2-1. Robinson pitching his second inning. He retired the side in order in the 6th. Baltimore 5 runs, 5 hits, and 2 errors. Pittsburgh 3 runs, 7 hits, and 3 errors. Stargell, Madlock, and Nicosia due up in the 8th, in case you're not keeping score. Singleton off the bag. Robbie looks over there. The 2-1 pitch, foul back, 2-2. Does Lowenstein always raise his right leg when he hits like that?
Yeah, he picks it up a little bit. He tries to pick it up and get that head out. He loves that fastball, and he loves it about the middle end. And I've noticed they stayed away from him a little because they're playing the center field of Moreno on the third base side of center field, which we would be playing the opposite way because he usually tried to pull.
2-2 the count of John. Robinson hands it aside. Singleton a very short lead at first. Now their 2-2 pitch coming up. Good breaking ball as far as the break, but it was outside, ball 3. Boy, that's a hard breaking curveball. He snapped it off. And good sense of the strike zone for John Lowenstein. 3-2. You think Singleton is going?
Yes, absolutely.
Lowenstein this year struck out 37 times, about 20% of the time. John waiting. Robinson out of a stretch, looks at Singleton. He goes. The pitch is popped in the air into left field. The Pirates try to confuse Singleton, but he won't go for it. And Robinson makes the catch in left, and Kenny goes back to the bag. The Lowenstein, a fly ball to left, 2 down. And Doug DeCinces coming up. A 2-run home run, walked and flied to right. And committed 2 errors in the 6th inning to get Pittsburgh back in the ballgame.
Vince, I'll be very surprised if we don't see Renicky in left field when the inning is over, because for defensive purposes, usually from the 8th inning on, he'll put Renicky out there.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for Gary Renicky taking over in left field for John Lowenstein. But right now, Doug DeCinces at the plate. There's Stargell standing in foul ground alone with his thoughts. DeCinces, 2-run home run, walked and flied out. Doug 1 for 2. Right-handed Don Robinson out of a stretch and delivers fastball, hit the right center. Parker digging in the mud, on the run, one-hands it on the dead run. A big man making a big play. No runs, no hits. Singleton left at first, and at the end of 7, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 3. Well, Sparky Anderson just a couple of moments ago said he expected John Lowenstein to come out and Gary Renicky to take over in left field. And true to his word, Earl Weaver has done just that. Renicky is now in for Lowenstein in left field. That is the only change in the Baltimore lineup that took the field for the start of the game. Now, the lumber company from Pittsburgh, Stargell, Madlock, and Nicosia in that order. And Mike Flanagan trying to bite on a bullet now. It's a tough time. 8th inning and leading by 2, 5-3.
Vince, I think that catch that Barker made, the great thing about it was you could see the water coming up as he was rolling to get it.
Maybe it's a good thing to be that big, that your body plants you in that mud, and you actually get more traction than a fellow who's not that big.
He is such a great outfielder, but I believe you're right. Being that weight and that size, the balance he had.
I mean, that was Bigfoot going after that drive. Willie Stargell swings, doesn't get it. And the count 0-1. Stargell blows out some air. His cheeks puff up like a balloon, and you understand why. Flanagan has struck him out twice and got him to ground out to second. Twice with men on base, he made him look bad. Wilbur swings and misses. Strike 2.
He reminds me of Carl Dempsey, though. He's the one guy that you never want up in the situation. Willie McCovey was that way, Vince. You might make him look bad all night, but boy, you don't want him up there in the games on the line.
Strike 2 pitch to Stargell, swung on and fouled away. Flanagan has struck out 5, getting Stargell to start off the 2nd inning, and he struck him out with 1st and 2nd and nobody out in the 6th when Pittsburgh eventually scored 2 runs. We're now in the 8th. The strike 2 pitch to Stargell. Flanagan deals and bounced it in front of the plate, 1-2. Wilbur Stargell, the great, deep, rich baritone voice, and a great heart and a feel for humanity, and oh, what a bat. 1-2. Wilbur Dornell Stargell, who, when he first went to camp as a professional, hard to believe, weighed only 150 pounds. 1-2 pitch. Taken outside, and he moved up in the box. He was looking for breaking ball.
He moved up, he's looking for the breaking ball, and I see the Earls getting old full-pack Stanhouse already out in the bullpen.
2-2 to Wilbur Stargell. Flanagan into the windup. Mike ready. Sidearm curveball. A high fly ball into deep right field. Looking up and watching it go out is Singleton. Home run for Stargell. And Pops has hit it to make it 5-4 Baltimore.
Just be thankful he didn't have men on.
It is 5-4 Baltimore. After the Orioles had a 5-run first inning, Pittsburgh whittling away. 1 in the 4th, 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 8th, and Madlock is angry at Newdecker. For Wilbur Stargell, the first home run he has ever hit in the World Series. Madlock is hot. Newdecker calling time. Now they're back in. Flanagan strike 1 pitch on the way. A little low as he turned over his change. 1 ball and 1 strike. Flanagan again checking with Rick Dempsey. And the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball hit to center. Bumbry is right there, however, now handles it easily.
You know, Vince, when Baltimore got 5 in the first, that's what I meant when Charlie wasn't. He's concerned that they got 5 runs, but he knows his ball club. And one thing about the Pirates, and you know over the years, 5 don't mean anything to them.
You know, and they're amazing in the sense of how when one hits, suddenly a whole bunch hit like a string of firecrackers.
Oh, we used to play them. Sometimes I used to get scared. I thought they were going to kill somebody before the night was over.
Well, here's Steve Nicosia, right-hand hitting catcher. Phil Garner on deck. Mike Flanagan ready, trying to hang tough. Good off-speed pitch, and Nicosia way out in front of it. 0-1. 5-4 Baltimore in the 8th. Mike Flanagan into the windup in the strike 1 pitch. Fastball fouled away off to the right, out of play. Murray coming over, but it's back in the stands, out of play. So Mike Flanagan, 14-2 at Memorial Stadium this year. Given 5 to lean on in the first inning, but he has spent 4 of them. And it is Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 4. Now the strike 2 pitch on the way. Chased and missed. And there's a case of a rookie catcher really being outguessed.
There's a case of a rookie catcher thinking he's going to come high and tight with a fastball. I'm going to swing when it leaves his hand, and he swung it with a changeup
way outside. So Steve Nicosia going to school and learning a bitter lesson that time. And with 2 down now, here is Phil Garner. Now, of course, it gets interesting to see whether Garner, for the bottom of the lineup, can get people aboard. Because Pittsburgh's suddenly running out of outs. Garner has a look at a pitch low, ball one. In other words, they want to get back around to Parker, Robinson, and Stargell, and Flanagan trying to get the bottom part of the lineup right now with Garner, and the fastball is on the outside corner for a strike.
And that's what Earl's trying to do right here. He has to pinch hit for his pitcher. It has to be Stinnett. So he knows if he can get out of this inning here, so that'll be the first. And Dennis Moreno, Foley doesn't have any power, and then he factors left-handers again.
Here's the 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed. That's an interesting thing. The pitch was way outside and low, and I noticed Belanger was breaking into the hole on the pitch. I don't know whether they missed a sign there or what.
No, he's reading that changeup, and I tell you what, he would have pulled that ball because the head of his bat determines it. Then those good infielders, they could pick it up.
Here's the 1-2 pitch to Phil Garner. Pulled a high chopper up in the lights, and DeCinces can't make a play. That's right, he lost the ground ball in the lights. And there's no two ways about it. As soon as the ball hit the ground, DeCinces showed distress. It was in the bulbs, and he blindly groped for it, and it just went off his glove, and it should be, and it's ruled a base hit. Rennie Stennett now comes out of the Pirate dugout, and for those people who boo the official scorers, they just don't realize that you lose ground balls in the lights.
You don't have a chance on it, and that ball there, he never had a chance, as you said, when I left the bat.
And now, 9 hits for the Pirates, but that's not a payoff window. Baltimore leads 5-4 despite being out-hit. Rennie Stennett will come up and hit. How about Stennett?
He is exactly like Sanguin. He hits the moment he sees you let go of the ball, but he's got some power here. They better be careful not to get the ball inside and up toward him.
Stennett, right-hand hitting infielder, and Flanagan on the rubber now backs off. So the tying run is at first base in the person of Phil Garner, who winds up 3 for 4 with 2 singles and a double and 2 runs batted in. 5-4 Baltimore, trying to hang tough in the 8th inning. Fastball, and that's a looper into right field and down the line. It's a base hit and dying in the mud, so Garner keeps on going to third, and the throw comes into Eddie Murray. So Rennie Stennett dunks one into right field, and the Pirates, who were down 5-0 in the first inning, have the tying run at third in the 8th inning.
And Vince, if they would tie this ball game up, you would have to think that they would be in great shape because the momentum has just changed so much.
It's amazing how Baltimore has had only 2 hits since the first inning. And the Pirates were so quiet in the first 3 innings, and now they have been the ones spinning wheels and going around the base paths. But Baltimore, with 5 hits, Pittsburgh has 10 hits, and Baltimore holding on to a 5-4 lead. And Omar Moreno grounded out, struck out, and hit 2 fly balls to center. He has not had very many good swings at Flanagan up to here. So first and third, Rennie Stennett at first, Garner down the line from third. The tying run 90 feet away with 2 out. Flanagan delivers. Moreno fouls it away. 0-1. Moreno had 69 runs batted in his leadoff role, and he hit 282. Very fast, but of course with a runner at first, there's not quite the pressure on the infielders as there would be if there was just a runner at third. In other words, they can get the play at second. They don't have to just try and get the speedy Moreno at first. Flanagan ready in the strike 1 pitch. Moreno takes in the dirt, and a good save by Dempsey. If that gets away, the ball game is even.
Vince, I'd have to think Flanagan's up to around 125, 130 pitches.
And I guess Weaver, does Weaver count pitches?
Yeah, they count pitches over there. There's no question about it.
1-1. Of course, earlier this year, and we mentioned it, he went 12 innings against the White Sox, struck out 12. But he can be a horse when they need him, and that's what he's doing right now. 1-1 the count to Moreno. Flanagan deals, fastball fouled away, in on the hands, and Moreno unable to get around on it. 1-2. The one thing the Pirates have succeeded in doing, however, they they have gotten rid of the bottom of the lineup. That means in the 9th inning, Dave Parker will have an at-bat. And now listen to this crowd trying to give Flanagan that extra push.
They're trying to disturb Moreno, too, here.
1-2 the count to Omar Moreno. And the 1-2 sidearm curve, strike 3 call. For the Pirates, 1 run, 3 hits, and they lead 2. And at the end of 7 1/2, Baltimore 5, Pittsburgh 4. Bottom of the 8th inning with Baltimore leading Pittsburgh 5-4. A fellow who at one time toiled for Baltimore, now pitching for Pittsburgh against Baltimore. Now would be left-handed Grant Jackson. A reminder, Game 2 of the 1979 World Series, right here at Memorial Stadium tomorrow night. Jim Palmer and Berg Blyleven, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the CBS Radio Network. The Pirates are close, but as Fred Haney used to say, rest his soul, the only thing close counts is in horseshoes and dancing.
Yeah, leaders don't count here.
No, leaders don't count. So Grant Jackson will be pitching to Billy Smith, Rick Dempsey, and Mike Flanagan. And now, Billy Smith will give way to Rich Dower. Dower hit .257 to Smitty's .249. Dower, right-handed batter. He had 9 home runs, 61 runs batted in. Grant Jackson, coming out of the bullpen, was 8-5 during the regular year and was in 72 games. Had a good ERA of under 3.
Well, he didn't even work this year if he was only in 72.
That's right. That Pirates bullpen, that's like having half the year off. So it's been Kison, Rooker, Romo, Robinson, and Jackson. And it's been Mike Flanagan going all the way for Baltimore. 5-4 Orioles in the 8th inning, and here is Dower. Jackson delivers, fastball, low, ball 1. What about Grant Jackson?
Grant Jackson doesn't have the fastball he used to have when he was at Baltimore, but he turns that ball over. He's got that good curveball of his, and he really knows how to pitch, Vince.
Grant checking. Madlock right at the bag, and the pitch to Dower in there for a strike, 1-1. Willie Stargell guarding the foul line deep at first. That was quite a USC baseball team managed by Rod Dado when you realize he had Freddie Lynn and Steve Kemp and Roy Smalley Jr. and Rick Dow all on the same club. The 1-1 pitch is low, ball 2, and 3 of those 4 were all-stars.
Yeah, Rod did all right for himself.
Yeah, great coach.
A great coach.
He is a great coach. He sure is. 2-1 the count to Rick Dower. And the 2-1 pitch fouled back out of play. Upstairs off to the right, 2-2. What about Dower now? How do you pitch him?
Boy, here's a guy that he loves that number 1, that fire. The harder you throw it, the better. He likes it up, and he prefers it inside. He's got a little power. He hit 9 home runs this year, and he doesn't like the ball down away from him at all.
Well, we'll see now what Jackson does with 2 strikes on him to see if he goes down and away. 2-2 to Rick Dower hitting for Billy Smith. Jackson delivers, it's down and away, and it's hit foul down the right field line out of play. So Dower evidently sees that pitch so often that at least he's getting a lot of practice trying to handle it.
And I think as time goes on with him, he'll probably become a better low ball hitter and a better hitter of all the way from him. Hit it to right field better.
Dower, Dempsey, and Flanagan in the 8th. 5-4 Baltimore. Grant Jackson ready, and the 2-2 pitch is low. Ball 3, a fastball that just missed. Dower, should he get on base, does not figure to be any kind of a threat. He doesn't have a stolen base. 3-2 pitch is a line drive base hit, a ball up, and he handles it easily. So that would have to be a mistake by Jackson to get the ball up there.
Yeah, well, he had him 3-2, and he was trying to throw a strike and just got the ball up. But he really likes the ball upstairs. Billy Madlock, I was kind of laughing there because Billy's been giving Jerry Neudecker a little trouble. When he didn't call him out on that pitch before, he looked down and said, oh, yeah, it's a different hitter up there.
Jerry Dudecker, of course, the American League umpire behind the plate, and Madlock, at least by inference anyway, is saying that Dudecker may be bowing to a little pressure here in Baltimore. By the way, that hit for Dower is the first hit for Baltimore since Eddie Murray singled in the second inning. But Baltimore leads 5-4. And Jackson goes to first and almost throws it away.
They love to hit and run with Dempsey and Dower. They do it all the time, and they like to move the ball with those two, especially with a pitcher coming up there. I don't believe they'll bunt him over.
Dempsey slamming his hands together, trying to get a grip on the bat, get the blood flowing somehow. Grant Jackson straightens up, looks over at first. A left-handed delivers, fastball foul back. 0-1 the count. Ken Singleton, the string bean right-hander, begins to throw now in the Pirate bullpen. When you get to Singleton, you're getting to the ball game. That is the heart of the matter, to borrow Graham Greene's great title. Meanwhile, Mike Flanagan, when he goes to the hill in the ninth inning, he will be pitching to Tim Foli, Dave Parker, and Bill Robinson. And so his teammates trying to give him an extra run to lean on here in the bottom of the eighth. It's 5-4 Baltimore.
About Christmas time, Jacoby's going to jump out of bed and start warming up.
He only been in 94 games in the regular season. The strike one pitch is outside. 1-1. Dempsey backs out again, has a look down at third. Cal Ripken perhaps hanging out a sign. Nicosia wigwagging a sign out to Jackson, who looks over at first. Now comes back to the plate inside. Ball 2-1. What's the ideal count to hit and run? 2-0, 3-1?
Myself, I like it 2 balls and 1 strike, 2-0. But 2-0, I'm always a little leery that pitcher's going to come up, especially a left-hander, and go over there. But 2-1's perfect.
So this is a pretty nice count then.
I think we might see it here.
Funny, that's why I brought it up. 2-1. The count to Rick Dempsey. 5-4 Baltimore, bottom of the 8th inning. Jackson out of his stretch, looks over at Dower. He doesn't go, and the pitch is hopped in the air into shallow center. Foley going out, but Moreno says, I've got it, and he has. 1 away.
I think the only reason is Earl has not played in, been in the National League with Jackson. Don't know when he's moving over. If Earl knew his stuff and had all the stats on him there, he'd be doing something.
And now, an ovation for Michael Kendall Flanagan out of Manchester, New Hampshire. A standing ovation, because although he was given 5 runs in the first inning, he has really had to battle down the stretch, and deservedly so, getting the ovation from the Loyalist fans here at Memorial. Flanagan was thrown out when he topped the ball in front of the plate, was aboard on an error, hit one under Stargell's glove and struck out. He's around to bunt and takes inside ball 1. Madlock was right down his throat. Figure he's bunting.
They have to bunt. Whether he wants to or not, he just has to. He's got to try to get that one more run. Hope that Bumbry gets a base hit.
Even though Bumbry, left-hand hitter on deck, will go against the left-hand pitching Grant Jackson. The 1-0 pitch, Flanagan around to bunt, fell away and fouled it off, evidently. And behind the plate, Nicosia got a piece of it, and he's shaken up. Tony Bartolome starts to come out of the dugout, but then Nicosia said he's okay. I think that bunt got Nicosia on the left arm and then bounced up and hit the outside chest protector to make such a loud thump. 1-1 to count. Dudecker checking with Nicosia. Boy, to get hit with a pitch on a night like tonight's a killer.
Yeah, but he was smart. What does he need that freeze for? He's already got it. He don't need it.
1-1. Flanagan back up there, left-hand hitter in a bunt situation. Dower off the bag. Jackson eyeballing Dower. Flanagan around and takes a strike, and the count 1-2. Willie Stargell, as he's been doing all night, just stands in foul ground. You talk about the lonesome end in football. Wilbur's been the lonesome first baseman tonight.
Maybe Orioles are using deodorant or something.
We'll have to check with him. The 1-2 pitch to Flanagan. He misses the bunt and strikes out. So Jackson picks up a strikeout. 2 down. Now Bumbry singled, hit back to the box, sacrificed, and grounded out. 1 for 3. So Bumbry coming up. Baltimore 5 runs, 6 hits, and 2 errors. Pittsburgh 4 runs, 10 hits, and 3 errors. Kison, Rooker, Romo, Robinson, and Jackson. Kison, the pitcher of record, and Flanagan trying to go all the way for Baltimore. Jackson, hands on his knees, now straightens up. Madlock in on the grass, and the pitch to Bumbry inside. Almost hit him, ball 1. On deck, Mark Belanger.
I wonder, Vince, if sometime this season Willie did that and they had good luck or something. It's become a superstition.
I don't ever remember seeing him do it, certainly in the Dodger Pirates games. But we're going to have to ask him before tomorrow's game. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Jackson off the rubber. Now he's on again as Bumbry backed out. Now Grant ready. The left-hander's delivery a little low, and he's behind the Bumbry. 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0. 5-4 Baltimore in the 8th. Don't forget, Foley, Parker, and Robinson with Stargell due up 4th in the 9th. And the pitch to Bumbry. Ground ball sharply. Up with it is Foley. Flips to Garner for the 4th. Foley making a good play on a hard-hit ground ball. And so they leave Dower at first base. And hang on to your hats at the end of 8. Baltimore 5. Pittsburgh 4. Well, they have sure caught it here in Baltimore. Now the Pirates are trying to catch the Orioles. 9th inning, 5-4 Baltimore. Rich Dower now at second base for Billy Smith. So Earl Weaver has made 2 changes. Gary Renicky going into left field in the 8th inning for John Lowenstein, and now Dower for Smith in the 9th. Tim Foley, Dave Parker, and Bill Robinson. Wouldn't you know if you're the Baltimore manager that no matter what happens, you get Parker in the 9th? It's as if he bats about 6-7 times a game.
Yeah, you get the feeling that people like Stargell and Parker, that they just keep coming up every game for that team.
And I'm sure Tanner feels the same way about Singleton and Murray. Tim Foley got up to the plate and he's not ready. He wants the cloth that's been dipped in pine tar and rosin. He'll apply it directly to the handle of the bat. Timmy wearing 1 golf glove on his left hand. In contrast, Parker wears a glove on each hand. Foley is 1 for 4. Parker is 3 for 4. Robinson is 1 for 4. So they have 5 hits amongst them. Flanagan ready, fastball in there for a strike.
You know, Vince, I don't think people realize how even teams are. When they win a pennant in either league, how even. No matter who wins the game, who really won? 5-4, 1 strike. 1 run.
Strike 1, off-speed pitch is pulled to short. Belanger scoops it up, throws to Murray in time, a little high. Eddie did a toe dance and stayed on the bag. 1 away.
Earl would settle for right now every ball to be hit to Belanger, believe me.
I've always wondered, and I know ball players have leveled with me, especially when in their early years. We're in a very tough spot and a very tough ball game. The player will say, I admit it. I said to myself, please don't hit it to me.
I have done that, Vince. Every player's done it. If they tell you different, they're only kidding. There's times where you just have a bad feeling and you don't have no rhythm in the field the same way as not hitting.
And now here's Dave Parker. Parker doubled in the 1st inning, singled to right in the 4th, singled to center in the 6th, and then grounded out in the 7th. So Parker is 3 for 4. 1 out, 9th inning, 5-4 Baltimore. The 3rd largest crowd to see a World Series game at Memorial Stadium, and they're right here and ready to, well, I was going to say tear the roof off. No roof here.
I don't like what I see in the Pirate on deck circle. Willie came up to join Robinson, so he's saying that he's going to hit.
Here's the first pitch to Dave Parker. Flanagan's fastball is hit up the middle, and that's the 4th hit for Parker. 11 hits in the game for Pittsburgh. 4 of the hits by Big Dave Parker. But behind him, Robinson is 1 for 4. And here he comes with 1 out in the 9th inning. So Flanagan trying trying to fight his way to the finish, and the Pirates trying to hammer him before he can get there. Robinson, right in, hitting left fielder. A throw to first. They've got Parker picked off. Murray down to Belanger, who dropped the ball on the tag. And Parker is safe. Dave Parker, remember we told you earlier what a hard base runner he is. And as Belanger went down to handle Murray's throw, Parker went right into Belanger. It looked like Parker would be out, and then second base umpire Russ Getz signaled safe as Belanger was knocked back on his numbers.
Just like you said earlier in the game, when he hits you, he could drive you anywhere, and he hit him so hard, the pressure just knocked the ball out.
I saw Dave Parker hit Steve Yeager one night in Pittsburgh. It was the most awful thing I have ever seen on a baseball field. How Yeager didn't have a broken neck, I'll never know. Unreal.
Man, so strong the impact, the pressure just knocked the ball out.
And it was a level, honest play. I mean, it wasn't anything but a hard slide straight in, but he just knocked Belanger away from the ball. So E6. And that means a half a dozen errors in the game, 3 on each side. And for Belanger, it would be a miracle, I guess, if he had held onto the ball. Parker barreling into him, but a legitimate head-on slide right at the bag. And now Robinson trying to pick him up. Flanagan delivers, off speed and high, ball 1. Question. Earl Weaver really going with Flanagan?
He's staying with Flanagan because, of course, Tippy Martinez hasn't been in the World Series, other left-hander, and he's got Stargell coming up next. He just wants Flanagan to pitch to Stargell.
1 ball and no strikes to Bill Robinson. Flanagan over the top, and he missed inside, ball 2. Mike Flanagan has allowed 11 hits. The Orioles have committed 3 errors back of him, but he's hanging tough, leading 5-4. But the Pirates, a marvelous comeback club. They were down 5-0, and now they have the tying run at second with 1 out in the 8th. Now we're in the 9th. And the pitch is swung on and missed 2-1. In fact, they got that tying run to third in the 8th. Remember when they left Garner? 2-1 to count to Bill Robinson. He is struck out and grounded out. Singled and flied out. Flanagan left foot on the rubber. Big Parker taking his lead at second. The 2-1 pitch. Breaking ball squirted off the end of the bat. A lot of English on it, but Dower handles it for the out. And with 2 out, would you believe you come down to this? The tying run is 90 feet away, and Wilbur Stargell to hit it.
And I'm glad I'm up here visiting with you because I couldn't take it.
What a great way to finish it one way or another, if they're going to finish it. The pitch to Wilbur inside, ball 1, and he turned inward on that pitch. Reminded you of Johnny Mize, if you're old enough to remember the great big first baseman who played so well for the Cardinals, the Giants, and the Yankees.
He's looking for that off-speed pitch. I know he is.
1 ball and no strike. Flanagan out of a stretch, and the 1-0 pitch. Fastball in there, 1-1. How about Flanagan going back to a stretch again with a runner at third and 2 outs?
I can't understand it. There's 2 outs, and the winning run is at the plate, and the tying run at third. I got to go to where I start from the windup.
Well, Flanagan was in that kind of a spot in the 6th inning and went from the stretch, and now here he is with the ball game on the line. 5-4 Birds, 9th inning, 2 outs. The pitch, Stargell takes in the dirt. Blocked by Dempsey, and he's done a good job on those pitches in the dirt tonight.
Dempsey's had about 6 of them with men on, and he saved every one of them for him.
2-1 to Wilbur Stargell. On deck, Bill Madlock. 5-4 Baltimore. Dave Parker at third with 2 outs. The 2-1 pitch to Stargell. Fastball popped up. DeCinces can't see it. Belanger going out along with Renicky. It's Belanger.
Tough play, too. A very tough play going through that mud.
As soon as the ball went up, Doug DeCinces told everybody he needed help. And deep and left was Renicky. He couldn't get to it. And Mark Belanger had to go through that bold area out there that was so muddy and so treacherous. And the slick shortstop made the big out on Stargell, and Baltimore held on. 5 in the first, and then it was all Pittsburgh battling back, and the Pirates are a buck short. The total, Baltimore, 5 runs, 6 hits, 3 errors. Pittsburgh,